The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Today is Friday, the 7th of February, 2025. Good morning and welcome to it, the Friday edition of The Morning Brief here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and I'm here to deliver your morning brief. Come, let us spend the next 3 hours together informing and engaging each other and sharpening each other's perspectives on the key issues of the day. Coming up on the show over the next 3 hours, naturally a big focus on the State of the Nation address as delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa at the Cape Town City Hall last night. There were so many themes that were covered by the President. Feel free to weigh in on any of them. But among the key themes that we will touch base on, the President seeking to explain South Africa's position and insisting that South Africa will not be bullied and South Africa will not be dictated to in as far as its sovereignty and its foreign policy is concerned. But he did seek to explain our country's positions on various issues of international concern, albeit without direct allusion to the growing diplomatic standoff with the United States. In the State of the Nation address, you will have heard the President explaining the reasoning behind South Africa taking Israel to the International Court of Justice over its military operations in Gaza, and also saying that South Africa acted in accordance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention. And also in the wake of the criticism by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Ramaphosa has had to explain the theme for this year's presidency of the G20 that South Africa holds. The theme is solidarity, equality, and sustainable development. So he did a bit of explaining about that and insisting that there will be no bullying of South Africa, as well as, of course, covering the many areas and plans of the 7th administration. In the second hour, I will be speaking to Dr. Kgotsi Chikane, and we'll be unpacking the President's speech, the themes that were covered, focusing on governance, local government, as well as, the commitments around the fight against corruption. So that conversation with Kgotsi Chikane coming up in the second hour of the show. And then we'll have this for you. There's a fair amount of confusion now. There's a fair amount of confusion about whether or not the ANC and the DA, as constituent parties, among others, of the National Coalition Government, have struck an informal agreement that merely now awaits to be formalized about aspects of the National Health Insurance Act that had been points of contention. So there's a bit of confusion. You'll remember a few days ago, maybe you saw the story, News 24 recently reporting on an interview that they conducted with the Minister for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Marupine Ramokgopa, who told the news outlet that such a deal had been struck, which would see provisions that some believe would have the effect of collapsing private medical aids, that those provisions have basically, there's been a concession and those would be stayed. Well, the question was posed to the Minister of Health, under whose domain the implementation of the NHI falls, and he was asked about this, informal agreement, and he says he knows nothing about it, does Aaron Motsoaledi. He says he knows nothing about it, despite Ramokgopa having told News 24 that actually, Minister Motsoaledi was part of the conversations and the negotiations that led to that agreement. So we'll seek clarity. I'll be speaking to the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, in the second hour at about 7:20. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of that bit of confusion. And then we'll tell you within this hour, about, at about 7:10, trouble for the e-hailing service, Vanatu. You remember we told you about this e-hailing service, an Afrikaans language-based e-hailing service that insists that those that, seek to be drivers and provide driving services within Vanatu, which is a play on the Afrikaans expression Varnatu, Wetu. So they've run into a spot of bother with the Tshwane Metro Police Department impounding several of their vehicles. In fact, they've had to temporarily suspend their operations. The Tshwane Metro Police Department saying that they've been operating without the requisite licensing to operate an e-hailing service. But the company itself says these impoundments are unlawful and they'll be seeking to challenge the impoundments. So we'll have a conversation about that, and that's coming up at about 10 to 7 within this hour. We have all of your regulars once again locked and loaded for you throughout the morning here on SAFM. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The first hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
Good morning to you, Anne. It is the morning after the night before.
Good morning, Thulas. Good morning. The morning after the night before.
Yes.
It was an interesting night.
Yeah?
Lots of takeaways.
From the State of the Nation address.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine that's what's leading on your bulletin.
It definitely is. So an agenda of reform, that will be shaping the actions of the 7th administration in the coming year. And the President in his State of the Nation address last night affirming the country's resilience and determination to overcome its challenges. So seeing a new wave of reforms to propel the economy being announced there. So we have reaction and analysis on the address from last night. ArcelorMittal has delayed by a month the closure of its long steel business. Amid ongoing interventions by government, a multidisciplinary team of government departments was established last month to find a solution to the looming job losses. A number of court cases as well. The pre-trial hearing of the former personal assistant to the then Premier of the Free State, Ace Magashule, will begin in the Free State High Court. Muruadi Chilota is among 18 accused in the 255 million rand asbestos scandal. And we have the 5 men charged with the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes and his friend Tabelo Tibbs Mutswane appearing in the Durban Magistrates Court, as well as the 2 other suspects, Siyabonga and Malusi Ndimande, who's detained in Eswatini. They will also be making their court appearance today, and this is in a bid to appeal an order for them to be extradited to South Africa to face murder charges. And the corruption trial that's related to the VBS looting and illegal investment of municipal funds against 3 accused, including 2 senior officials at Giyani Municipality, also expected to start today. And just lastly, the Northwest Health MEC is expected to hand over the results of autopsies of deceased illegal miners that was recovered from the Stilfontein mine to police today. We know that since August last year, over 2,000 suspected illegal miners have been arrested as part of Operation Valamgoti at the Buffelsfontein gold mine. So some of the stories that we are focusing on this morning.
All right, thank you for that.
You forgot about me there.
I'm pulling the stunt that you always pull on me. Just slightly delaying and just let you soak for a little bit and let you be concerned that is this guy still there?
I take it.
All right, that's Anne Musa there. Anne will keep you updated with your news every half hour here on The Morning Brief.
Bertha Charuma on SAFM.
I could be a girl who finds herself a knight in shining armor, but my financial status is horror. I owe everywhere. Do I then sit? Do I preempt what my situation is like? I mean, is it that important that we talk about our debts?
It's really, really important, especially if you're going to go into a committed relationship where you potentially might move in together or you might get married. I think we know, and I think in a lot of ways, that financial issues are one of the biggest reasons why relationships break.
Queen Malobane is our provincial general manager at Metropolitan.
The Chill Zone with Bertha Charuma. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
Here's a quick check on your weather for this Friday morning. We start with 2 warnings coming through from the South African Weather Service. Yellow level 2 warning, it says severe thunderstorms resulting in heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of susceptible low-lying areas, roads and bridges, and localized damage to property and infrastructure. Those conditions are expected over the central parts and western parts of the Free State. The second warning is a yellow level 1 warning. It says severe thunderstorms resulting in heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of susceptible low-lying areas, roads and bridges, and localized damage to property and infrastructure, and those conditions expected over the northern parts of the Eastern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers with a minimum temperature of 19 and a maximum of 27. Johannesburg will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 25. Mbombela will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 27. Polokwane partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 28. Mahikeng will be partly cloudy and windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 30. Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy and windy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 20 to 27. Kimberley will be partly cloudy and windy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 20 to 26. Cape Town will be fine, 18 to 30. George, fine, 18 to 28. Gqeberha will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 18 to 28. East London will be partly cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 20 to 28. Durban will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 21 to 26. Richards Bay will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 23 to 27. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 16 to 23.
Action is getting tougher in the second half of the league. The Folks want to ease off pressure with a win, but the Eagles aim to fly with 3 points to remain in the top 5. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Mönchengladbach FC versus Eintracht Frankfurt FC on Saturday, 8 February at 7:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course, We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll get a fantastic price for your car. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
The National School Nutrition Program and social grants are instrumental in ensuring that children's needs for food and other essential services are met. We need a minimum health promotion levy of 20% on all sugary drinks to support social protection initiatives. Find out more on the next episode of Chew on This at heala.org, HEALA.org, on 30 January from 3 p.m.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
At 20 minutes after 6, here's a story of international significance that has implications for South Africa. And it's along the theme of the stories we've been covering over the last few days, but we simply can't afford to move on, at least not yet. The United States Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, will not be among his G20 peers when they meet in Johannesburg later on this month. Rubio has announced that he will not attend the meeting, echoing his boss, President Donald Trump's words in accusing South Africa of, quote, doing very bad things, end quote. He claims the country has been expropriating private property and makes the bizarre claim that South Africa's chosen theme for its G20 presidency, which is solidarity, equality and sustainability, is actually shorthand for DEI, which means diversity, equity and inclusion, concept scorned by Trump's Republicans. I'm joined now by Brooks Spector, who is Daily Maverick Associate Editor and International Relations Expert. Good morning to you, Brooks. It's good to talk to you once again. It almost feels to me like, Brooks, I don't know, they are going out of their way, the Trump administration, to misunderstand what South Africa is about. How is it even possible that, I nearly said Brooks Spector, that Marco Rubio reads into the theme for the G20 presidency, solidarity, equality, and sustainability, and reads it as DEI, something that, the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, scoff at?
Well, good morning. It's good to be with you. I wish we didn't have to talk about this.
I know, Brooks.
There are whole chunks of this that begin to distress me. Look, the United States was one of the founder members of the G7, the G7, G6, then G7, now the G20, which surrounds it. And this will be, to the best of my knowledge, the very first time an American representative has refused to attend any of those events because they're seen as major ways to network with, to find common threads, to reach agreements with, to make representations to counterparts at the foreign ministry level for this meeting, or at the head of government level for the meeting that will come up in November. And so now you get to wonder whether Donald Trump will make his appearance here in November, because that's where all the heads of government meet. And because next year the United States theoretically now is the host country and chair of the G20 in the year 2025. So all of that is looming over it. What Marco Rubio is doing is he's echoing Donald Trump's words. He's being a good soldier and doing what he's told. I don't see any independent thought in there. In fact, I don't see much in the way of cognition in there at all. Unfortunately, he's new in the job, but he's parroting what the man at the top has said. So he's just going along with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can read all kinds of things into it, or we can simply say that they are saying what they think the universe is, and they're going to operate that way regardless of whether or not that's how the universe really is.
Mm. There's an inescapable sense as well, Brooks, and maybe you can talk to it, that all of this, everything being said about South Africa doing very bad things, and then those very bad things being outlined in the way that they have been in the last few days, all of it is perhaps a charade and cover for what actually is the real gripe with South Africa, that is more geopolitical than anything to do with any domestic policies. Am I correct in reading it that way?
Well, yes and no. I think it is actually both sides of that coin. There is a feeling among some Republicans in Congress, certainly, and among folks in the Trump administration, that South Africa is doing the land seizures and the confiscations that their imaginations have told them is happening. And they're sort of echoing what did happen in Zimbabwe 2 decades or so ago. They're reading an awful lot into the new land bill, the new expropriation bill, really, because it isn't precisely a land bill at all. And at the same time, they are arguing that it represents the kind of threat to their audience, to their people, their voters, and let's be frank about it, that white South Africans, white Americans, white anybody, have to be protected against all those depredations that are coming down the road. You add into it the fact that South Africa has positioned itself very closely to Russia, to China, to Iran, and we also include the International Court of Justice motions in that regard. And all of that taken together makes South Africa look to be a bad guy in their eyes.
So, given the non-participation of Marco Rubio in the foreign ministers meeting of the G20 presided over by South Africa, and the now, very real possibility that even Donald Trump could skip the meeting of heads of state a bit later on in the year. What's the impact? What's the likely impact of that on the effectiveness of the South African presidency of the G20 and some of the themes that they've put forward and some of the work that they would have hoped to achieve?
Well, let's be fair. The G20 mechanism is really a discussion forum. It doesn't lead to mandatory decisions on the part of, or actions rather, on the part of any nation. It allows for an airing of discussion, thinking through a sense of camaraderie on at least some things that they can agree on. And it will put a damper on the party that Cyril Ramaphosa and company had planned for the G20 this year. But it's let me think about this and say what's been an itch for me. I can't imagine Donald Trump missing a meeting like that, because it is a world stage where he can explain his views. He can say what he would like to see happen next year, and it is the stage. It's like the UN General Assembly stage. It's like the NATO meeting stage. He can't. He'll be like a moth drawn to a light in the evening for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
The foreign ministers meeting, by contrast, is a working meeting, right? And it's, here it may be fairly big news because it's taking place here. In America, in New York, in Washington, in Dubuque, Iowa, it's going to be on page 2 or page 3 of the newspaper down below the fold, because in the grand scheme of things, other things will be much more timely and even important and newsworthy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put all that much emphasis on this, other than to say it's a disappointment for Rubio, it's a disappointment for the United States, and certainly it's a disappointment to Cyril Ramaphosa not to have an American representative. Now, you'll probably see American diplomats at the meeting. Maybe somebody lower down on the totem pole will sit in, so all is not lost in that regard. But it will definitely be, if somebody has a sense of humor, they'll put a nameplate at the table with the words United States of America, and there'll be nobody in the chair.
Yeah, it will be, at least for the TV teams and photographers, it will be quite a moment and a picture to capture. Thanks for your time and your insights this morning. That's Brooks Spector, who is Daily Maverick Associate Editor and International Relations Expert, bringing us to 6:30. And Musa on standby with your latest news headlines.
Thanks to Lus. Good morning. In the headlines, government plans to spend over 900 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years. This is according to President Cyril Ramaphosa while delivering his first State of the Nation address under a government of national unity. The case against Darren Wilken and Tiona Modley is expected to resume in the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. Wilken and his web designer girlfriend were arrested last month after an FBI-led investigation uncovered an estimated 10 million pieces of child sexual abuse material at their home. And a group of more than 100 Kenyan police have arrived in Haiti to reinforce the United Nations-backed mission fighting widespread gang violence. The force, which is led by Kenya, is now about 1,000 strong. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A reminder of protesting this earlier today on the Heidelberg Road through City Deep, Vickers Road territory. Burning tyres well early. There may still be some disruption there. Just a heads up, if you come from Alberton through to Joburg using Heidelberg Road, there may be some hold-ups and diversions for you. The Golden Highway coming up from Eldos in towards Devlin is looking quite sound. Of course, the four-way side of Joburg really under pressure, just with these long-term traffic light faults which just seem to be unattended forever. Main and Vidkoppen coming in on four ways, the run-in from Danefern on Winnie Mandela, Uranium and Lone Hill, Cedar Road into Uranium, Winnie Mandela and Leslie Avenue been out for absolute ever, and there's really heavy traffic building at all those junctions at the moment as well. Durban, 30 mils of rain overnight, rain in the forecast until mid-morning, late morning perhaps. There are pockets of surface water and some slippery road conditions. We're looking at a myriad of crashes already, a lot of motorists just sliding into each other on wet and slippery roads, so just take it easy, watch those speeds. Cape Town, a lot of pressure on the Stellenbosch Arterial heading down towards Symphony Way in the Delft area. Baden-Powell's got some sand at Coastal Park and some delays before you get there. Baden-Powell looks quite heavy, Muizenberg bound into the Strandfontein Junction, and the main road between Fishhook and Simonstown closed near Dido Valley Road, and that's due to burst water main repairs. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, good morning to you, Zai. I really like the story that you're leading with.
What?
There's an element of sibling rivalry in the T20. It's amazing. It's the Sunrisers and the Royals.
Can you imagine what it must be like at their braais?
Yeah.
Is it going to be awkward?
Yeah.
Now that the younger brother, because you think the older brother should be the one winning.
There must be a good amount of banter that says, you know what, bring it on any day. We'll do the same thing. We'll deal with you again.
Exactly.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an exciting one. But nevertheless, whether it's awkward or not at the family braai, they've got a win. That's the Sunrisers Eastern Cape shining brightly as Jordan Herman of the Sunrisers Eastern Cape took on his older brother, Ruben Herman of the Paarl Royals. And both brothers, they hit half centuries. But it was Jordan who had the last laugh as the Sunrisers chased down 176 with 4 balls to spare. Tony De Zorzi was the hero with a blistering 78 of 49, while Jordan's unbeaten 69 secured an 8-run win. Now, for the third year in a row, the Paarl Royals have fallen short, while the Sunrisers head to Wanderers to face MI Cape Town in tomorrow's final. Let's hear from Tony De Zorzi.
It seems like most of their batters are in form, but I'll probably echo what Aidan said to us the other evening, that the tournament starts now. And it seems like everyone is in form in our team at the right moment with bat and ball in the field. You can feel it. I mean, I wouldn't really want to be facing Plunk and Cleese and Overton with the new ball. So I back those guys, especially in the final. So I think it's going to be exciting. I think this is the teams that everyone probably wants to watch in the final.
More cricket. England suffered another disappointing defeat in Brendan McCullum's first one-day international in charge as India won their series opener in Nagpur by 4 wickets. On the back of a 4-1 loss in the preceding T20 series, Jos Buttler's England wasted a good start with the bat to be bowled out for 248. Soccer news. Mamelodi Sundowns talisman Tembazwane has confirmed returning to training following surgery to repair an Achilles injury, and the Bafana midfielder was hurt while on national team duty 4 months ago. Now, while the player accepts that he is some way off from being available for coach Miguel Cardoso, his progress has been evident. Mshishi shares how he dealt with the setback.
It was difficult at first, but obviously with the support of my team, my family, I had to push myself, and I'm happy now at the moment. I'm running outside, I don't feel any pain. It's just that it's tight at the moment, but overall I think so far so good.
And Banyana coach Desiree Ellis says the 2 matches against Lesotho is the final opportunity to broaden her core squad ahead of the 2025
Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Ellis announced a youthful 22-player squad in back-to-back international friendlies at Lucas Moripa Stadium on the 22nd and 25th of February. And you can catch the action live on SABC Sport. And finally, defending champions Liverpool will once again contest the EFL Cup final after a 4-0 win over Tottenham in the second leg of their semi-final at Anfield. And that's a wrap of your Morning Brief Sport. There's more. Top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndawling Lechela for the first update of the morning. Ndawling, good morning to you. So let's turn our eyes to the Bank of England and what they are doing with rates. They are resuming cuts, are they?
That's right, Sulas, and morning. And this comes after a pause in December. The central bank cut rates by 25 basis points, coming in line with expectations amid ongoing concerns over sluggish growth in that economy. Now, the central bank's benchmark interest rate sits at 4.5%, with a majority of 7 members out of the 9 voting in favor of a quarter-point cut, while 2 of the MPC members voted for a larger cut of 50 basis points. Now, this dovish stance reflecting that the MPC could continue to reduce rates moving forward. In a statement, the Bank of England acknowledged the progress in reducing inflation over the past 2 years as external economic shocks have subsided, but the central bank emphasizes the need of a cautious approach to easing monetary policy, balancing the goal of boosting economic growth with the risk of inflation. The central bank said it has a tough task of carefully considering the potential impact of a trade war triggered by President Donald Trump, Trump's plans to impose tariffs on key trading partners. And so we'll continue to monitor global risks when making further adjustments.
And this is right up your alley, is it? L'Oreal.
Of course, of course.
Tell me about why they're experiencing downbeat sales in China and the United States and how that is impacting L'Oreal.
So the world's largest beauty brand reporting disappointing fourth quarter sales, citing, of course, ongoing weakness in Chinese markets and slowing demand in the US. This comes despite a 2.5% increase in quarterly sales. That coming in as a rise, but it was short of analyst expectations. Full year sales in the meantime coming in 5.1% to 43.4 billion euros, slightly above forecast. And zooming in on regional performances, the company's sales growth slowed in North America, rising only 1.4% in the fourth quarter, down from 5.2% in the previous quarter. There, they're just losing market share with competitors eating up their share. And in contrast, sales in North America declined 3.6%, extending a slowdown in the region. The company's leadership acknowledged the challenges in China, but expressed optimism about the global beauty market's outlook. Now, L'Oreal's results reflect broader trends in the beauty and luxury goods sectors, where companies like LVMH and Burberry and Estée Lauder have also struggled with weaker consumer demand. The prospect of a trade war and fresh tariffs on Beijing are likely to worsen spending pressure in the Chinese market, clouding sentiment among consumer goods companies. And so L'Oreal remains concerned about that market's prospects in particular.
All right, last Ndawling, please give us our first recap of market activity for the morning.
So the recovery we saw over the past 2 days seems to be slowing down, with U.S. stocks closing mixed as they digested earnings from big companies. The Dow Jones closed in the red yesterday, down close to 0.3%. Here at home, sentiment remains upbeat, with the all share up close to 0.7% in yesterday's trading session. This was boosted by a near 1.4% rise in the financial 15. Meanwhile, on the currency front, the rand trading stronger post President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address, but the main contributor to the strength is, of course, dollar weakness. It's sitting at 18.43 to the greenback this hour. And then over in Asia, markets trading mostly in the green this morning. Global attention has shifted on that front from earnings to the upcoming U.S. jobs report out later this afternoon. So caution somewhat still remains.
All right, Ndawling Lechela always has her eye on the money. Don't miss her insights in the second report that she will bring you just after 7:30 here on The Morning Brief.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
You'd think reheating leftovers would be quick, right? But somehow they're still cold. Back in they go, still cold. By the third time, you just eat them anyway. But you know what's faster than reheating leftovers? Getting your car covered online with Santam. It only takes 2 minutes. To switch, visit santam.co.za. Santam, this is freedom.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
18 minutes to 7. Let's focus on higher education now. The South African Congress of South African Students Congress, SASCO, is sounding the alarm over a growing student accommodation crisis in Johannesburg. Hundreds of University of Johannesburg students are reportedly stranded without a place to stay, despite having paid a 500 rand fee for private accommodation at the Saratoga village, a well-known student residence. This troubling situation has ignited widespread controversy and raised serious concerns about the reliability and fairness of the current accommodation system. I'm joined now by Yandisa Mhlelembana, who is SASCO's Gauteng chairperson. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning. We will talk about the broader accommodation, student accommodation situation, but I believe that you have a particular issue that has to do with the situation as it manifests at the University of Johannesburg. Tell me about it.
Hey, morning, sir. How are you? Morning to your viewers as well.
Sure.
Well, we have 3 crises in the University of Johannesburg and in Gauteng at large. Firstly, the accommodation crisis, as you have mentioned it. The university is renovating about 2 big student accommodation on campus, which has caused a lot of backlog in terms of student accommodation. Normally, first years would prefer to stay on campus than off-campus student accommodation, your private student accommodation. But however, now they are forced to look for this private accommodation that have top-ups on top of what NFSAS offers. Second to that, they have this booking fee or admin fee, booking room to reserve your room, which costs around 500 to 700. That when you have paid it, you are not guaranteed to get the room. That is where our worry is. That's not the only worry though. And you must then, they are provided a storeroom to put your clothes, where we are charged another 500 to 1,000. So I believe this is swindling of the unsuspecting public, the students, because it is stated clearly in the policy of POSA, which is a private accommodation accreditation office on campus, that an NFSA student is not allowed to pay for anything. Now, as I've stated, that after paying this money, you're not guaranteed that you will get the room of placement. You find that this student accommodation have a capacity of 2,000 to 3,000 beds. You find that they have about 8,000 application. They then make an amount totaling close to 4 million beginning of the year.
And this is non-refundable.
It's non-refundable. Now, that is pure defrauding of students. That is pure swindling of a black child who depends on this financial aid paid by taxpayers. Pure corruption, clear defrauding of students, which is accepted, I mean.
Yeah.
With another meeting with the university said we must bring all the names of those student accommodation that are doing that. We found another one now that is charging 1,000 rand, which is called Gateway. It has a capacity of more than 3,000 beds. Yes.
Hold on for me a second, Yandisa. I want to take a call from Sizwe, who is listening in on our conversation and wants to weigh in on it. Sizwe, good morning. You're calling from the Eastern Cape. You also want to talk about stranded students.
Yes, my father. I'm happy that you have invited the gentleman there. Look, man, I wonder what are they doing with regards to the issue of NSFAS when today, I understand in some institutions it's the last day of registration. And there are some students where NSFAS has not come to the party. Those students are stranded, and these things, they keep on frustrating them, and they will impact negatively on their academic performance.
Yeah.
I really don't understand how NSFAS continues to to do these things.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Sizwe. Yandisa, just weigh in on that. The broader accommodation problem, particularly in Gauteng, with the number of higher education institutions that it has, as well as the problems that we have seen and the delays that have been reported in NSFAS settling the debts of students in as far as accommodation goes.
Perfect. What we've noted, what landlords are doing with NSFAS, this back and forth. Some claim that this money goes towards a deposit fee in case NSFAS has delays. We're then realizing that landlords are responding back to the NSFAS issues and NSFAS administrative challenges because NSFAS apparently owes them a lot of money, these landlords, that NSFAS has not settled from last year. I know student accommodation that has a capacity of 1,200 beds that has not received a single payment from last year. So we believe that, we think actually that, okay, now these landlords, what they are doing to get attention, what they've decided is that let them create this self-created problem of a student accommodation, especially that is going to impact an NSFAS student, so that there is sufficient attention for them to get their money.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your time this morning. So something of a bargaining chip. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Yandisa Mhlelembana. He's SASCO's Gauteng chairperson.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Let me take a quick call from Sive in Gqeberha. Good morning to you, Sive. You want to talk about the issue of land in this country?
Hi, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. By the way, Thulasizwe, I happen to have an experience of having worked at NSFAS for 10 years, but it's another conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But the point, Thulasizwe, that I want to raise here is white supremacy bullyism. If you remember, during the week, in your show, there was Advocate Nyokai Tobi, and he had raised the issue that the land conversation started around 2008 with Mamutoko Titis. And in between 2008 and now, there was a term of office of Donald Trump. And that conversation never came up from Donald Trump. But now, because this issue has become a reality now, people now are coming to shiver that their white supremacy comfort might come to an end in some way or another.
Yeah.
But what I think here we need to do amongst all these conversations is that these buildings that we may probably want to expropriate, etc., why can't we use them for the conversation that you just had now with the Gauteng SASCO person on student accommodation?
Gotcha.
Yeah. I happen to work in a TVET college, and most TVET colleges do not have the necessary infrastructure to respond to the demands of student accommodation.
Yeah.
Now land expropriation is silent on how does it resolve the issue of student accommodation in South Africa, because there is property that is unused.
Yeah.
All over in South Africa.
Gotcha. I've got to move on.
Why can't we link that conversation to the issue of student accommodation and we resolve that matter?
I think it is, in a way, Sive. I'll challenge you to go back and look at the Expropriation Act. I think you are right on the money. I think it does touch on those issues in the public interest and for a public purpose. they framed it generic in that way, so that it covers everything, including properties such as buildings that are posing a problem, for example, in an inner city, contributing to socio-economic problems and urban decay and crime and the likes. But what you can then use those properties for really is left wide open, but within the ambit of in the public interest and for a public purpose. I would argue that that would cover what Sive is suggesting. Sydney in Akonhoek, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about the United States and South Africa?
Yes, Brother T, Sydney, the neighbor in Akonhoek, Pushback Ridge. Brother T, the reason why the U.S. won't send its representative for the G20 arrangement is soon to come. It is this. We, South Africans, we are a nation, a country, supported, defended the Palestinians. USA is a country abetting and supplying heavy artillery that Palestinians, who are both Muslim and Christians, be wiped off, be killed, just as we saw that as it is a witness of everyone on earth.
Yeah.
Look at the destruction that is there. This is the reason why we support and defend the Palestinians. They supply heavy artillery that Palestinians be wiped off, be killed, to a point that even today they just want even to take by force that piece of land they have over there.
Gotcha.
That is the reason why. These other things, they just interfere. And unfortunately, Brother T, we live with groupings here in South Africa who are backstabbing the nation like butchers.
All right. Sydney, thank you for that. That's Sydney in Akonhoek. What you're saying, Sydney, is something that a lot of people, an observation that many people have made. Thank you for those. We will continue to take your calls and WhatsApp voice notes throughout the show.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Getting busy between Pretoria and Joburg with a crash on the M1 South at Samrand. Left lane closed, traffic pushing back in towards the Brockfontein interchange. N12 out of Benoni through towards Boksburg, looking quite heavy as well. Durban, the M7, heavy queues to Belfort Road Bridge on your way to the Bluff. There's a crash on the N2 north near Cement Factory, backlogging traffic coming out from the Chatsworth area. Wet weather conditions across Durban, take it easy. And Cape Town, Jake Scoville Drive, busy being repaired at that road damage section near Yucklesvlei. There's quite a backlog going north this morning coming up from Vangate Mall. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. You know you can trust us with over 350 stores nationwide. Get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye test and spectacle frame with lenses on your first pair. Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Tommy Hilfiger, Carolina Herrera and more. There really is no reason to go anywhere else. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
6 minutes to 7. Let's turn our attention to this story now. Vanatu, the Afrikaans language-based e-hailing service, has temporarily suspended its operations this week after the Tshwane Metro Police Department, the TMPD, impounded several of its vehicles. The company is now challenging the legality of these impoundments. This suspension comes amid claims of intimidation targeting Vanatu's drivers and an ongoing broader dispute over the implementation of new permit regulations for e-hailing services in Gauteng. I'm joined now by Ayanda Ali, who is a Build One South Africa Gauteng Provincial Legislature member. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and thank you for your time. There's been something of a criticism and maybe a critique, let's call it that, of the actions of the TMPD that has drawn you right into the conversation. This follows, of course, what you put out on social media a few days ago about the operations of Vanatu. Are you happy now that there's been action of this nature that has been taken by the Tshwane Metro Police Department?
Thank you so much. Good morning to Thulas and good morning to your listeners. The answer is no. We're not entirely happy because this is just but one battle victory. The war, in inverted commas, is not over. What war am I talking about? The war of having to punish innocent drivers who are law-abiding, who have complied with every other requirement and also seek to comply with the permit requirement, but are being denied the ability to do so and then punished for not having those permits. So that is the challenge that we're facing, and the bigger challenge is yet to be won. So while we acknowledge that they are now impounding Vanatu as much as they have been impounding the other vehicles from Uber, Bolt, and InDrive throughout the latter part of last year, this is not a victory by far. We are waiting for justice to be served.
So am I correct in understanding that your biggest gripe was not that Vanatu vehicles were not being impounded like the others, like your Uber, Bolt, and InDrive, but your biggest gripe is perhaps, if and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the issue of the issuing of permits for these drivers and owners to be able to operate legally.
We took exception to both, Thulas, because they're intertwined in their nature. So what we have is a situation where towards the end of last year, there was a decisive effort to deliberately target Uber, Bolt, and InDrive drivers in their mass, sometimes having several roadblocks across Tshwane to harass them into either paying bribes or into having their vehicles impounded and then generating income for the city in dubious ways. And we then said, this is a problem. But additional to that, we're not seeing the same heavy-handed tactics that are directed towards Vanatu. Vanatu's vehicles are clearly branded, so law enforcement can't say we don't recognize them or we won't see them because they are white drivers, so we don't know that they are the typical drivers. The vehicles are branded. Number two, they had a launch last year in October and have been operating without permits since then. And the third part is that there has been no effort, even by the state, to reach out to this new player in a time when the state is saying this market is oversaturated. So in an oversaturated market, how do you have a Vanatu? And in an oversaturated market, how do you have a Vanatu that doesn't have permits? So those matters are both intertwined. But the ultimate goal is to make sure that the permits are released so people can abide by the law as they have been all this time, and do so without fear of being impounded. So that is the ultimate goal. And if you can't give them that ultimate goal, you have to make ways for them to be able to prove that they have applied and the issues with the state. Many of them have applied 2-3 years ago and are carrying receipts or what they call slips to prove that I have this slip. The error is not on my side. I've been waiting 2 to 3 years to actually get my permit. And very quickly in closing, this is not an argument raised by BOSA. This is not an argument raised by the drivers even. This is an argument that was also raised by the Provincial Regulatory Entity, or PRE, the toll lab in Tshwane, that gave advice to Tshwane City and said, please be lenient with drivers who can produce slips that prove that they've been waiting. If they can prove slips that they've been waiting, and that's the only infringement, which means it's not like the vehicle is out of order or not roadworthy. If the only transgression is the permit, and they give you a slip that shows that they applied more than a year ago, be lenient. This was an order, an instruction that was given by the PRE to Tshwane. But Tshwane, as usual, chose profit over people.
I can't imagine, and in closing, Ayanda, I can't imagine that you've not faced the pushback that says you are only taking these actions because Vanatu is an Afrikaans language-based operation in the context of, what we've come to know now from Donald Trump and others, that South Africans are, quote-unquote, doing very bad things.
Absolutely not. If Vanatu was a Xhosa speaking only or Zulu speaking only or English speaking only, if they don't have permits and they're on the road, we take exception to that when our drivers are being punished and hammered day in, day out for not having permits. So the Afrikaans issue will be ventilated in the courts when it comes to human rights violations and issues. We have an interest in that. We definitely want to know the outcome. I have my personal views. But on this matter, it's about permits and impounding vehicles and doing so in a discriminatory matter where it was was only targeting our black drivers from Bolt, InDrive, and Uber, and it was leaving Vanadu. Now that everybody's being impounded, let us look at the legalities of the impounding. We will get to the issues of human rights as and when, and this can happen even parallel, by the way. It doesn't have to be one before the other. They can happen parallel.
Gotcha. Ayanda, thank you for your time this morning. That's Ayanda Ali, who is a Build One South Africa Gauteng Provincial Legislature member. That brings us to 7 a.m. and Musa on standby with your news update.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30760. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, government plans to spend over 900 billion rand on infrastructure, and couple facing charges over child sex abuse images back in court. Good morning. Government plans to spend over 900 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years. This is according to President Cyril Ramaphosa while delivering his first State of the Nation address under a government of national unity. Ramaphosa says government has revised regulations for public-private partnerships.
And government will spend more than 940 billion rand on infrastructure over the next 3 years. Now, this includes 375 billion rand in spending by state-owned enterprises. This funding will revitalize our roads and bridges. It will build dams and waterways. It will modernize our ports and airports and also power our economy. Through the infrastructure fund that we launched some time ago, 12 blended finance projects worth nearly 38 billion rand have been approved in the last year.
EFF leader Julius Malema says President Ramaphosa has made similar announcements about infrastructure development and water provision before, but falls short on delivery.
He uses this platform to just come and waffle. He says he's going to create jobs, but he doesn't tell us where and how. He says infrastructure is going to be developed, so much money has been put aside, where and how. So there's no plan, it's just utterances that he just makes passing time, and then knowing very well that he will not be challenged by those he's governing with.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has ordered the country's flag be flown at half-mast for a week starting today to honor the National Defence Force members who lost their lives in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. He says the soldiers did not lose their lives in the pursuit of resources, but to silence the guns in Africa.
Alongside soldiers from other southern African countries, they lost their lives in defense of the fundamental right of the Congolese people to live in peace and security. They lost their lives not in the pursuit of resources or territory or power. They lost their lives so that the guns on our continent may be forever silenced.
The case against Darren Wilken and Tiona Moodley is expected to resume in the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. Wilken and his web designer girlfriend were arrested last month after an FBI-led investigation uncovered an estimated 10 million pieces of child sexual abuse material at their home. The court previously heard 3 countries had issued extradition requests for Wilken over child sex abuse images and videos. Puseletso Mukwena reports.
The couple has made 2 court appearances in the Randburg Magistrate Court where they are trying to secure bail. In their previous appearance, the state revealed that Wilken was already facing a sextortion case. The pair faces 25 counts of money laundering, a schedule of 5 offences carrying a minimum sentence of 15 years per count. With the volume of material under investigation, the state insisted that releasing the pair would not only pose a risk in the case, but also threaten public peace and security. In addition, each of the 10 million videos and images could result in a minimum sentence of 5 years behind bars.
ArcelorMittal South Africa will later this month announce the outcome of ongoing talks with government to save the Long's business from closure. AMSA has delayed the closure of its plants in Newcastle and Vereeniging by a month after receiving funding support of 380 million rand from the IDC in the form of a shareholder loan. Annual results highlighted a challenging operating period, with South Africa's crude steel production for 2024 declining by 5%. The CEO, Kobus Verster.
And we are also clear that we will not take any further financial losses and risk to the extent that we do not get a sufficient solution by the end of the month. It's actually almost mid-month, because, as I said to you, you're stopping things 2 weeks earlier before the real stop date. We need something more. They need to come up with a solution for that. The company is not going to fund that.
And finally, a group of more than 100 Kenyan police have arrived in Haiti to reinforce the United Nations-backed mission fighting widespread gang violence. The force, which is led by Kenya, is now about 1,000 strong. Haiti's Prime Minister, Elix Thulasizwe addressed the troops.
The battle we face today is a fight between good and evil, because the gangs that rape and kill children are evil. We in government, together with our partners, are motivated to end insecurity. Everyone has honored their promises. We have the human resources and we will have the necessary equipment. We will give the people what they've asked us for: security. Security.
Recapping the top story, government plans to spend over 900 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years. This is according to President Cyril Ramaphosa while delivering his first State of the Nation address under a government of national unity last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Leap into February with this unbeatable deal from Outsurance. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. Either way, you win. Make today the day you switch and save. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Crash on the M1 South at Samran. Delays coming through from Brockfontein interchange into that four ways. Very busy again with multiple traffic lights out. Main and Vidkoppen is one of the big problems in from Lone Hill through that junction. Also the M12 backing up, leaving Benoni through to Boksburg. An issue there about, between Atlas Road and Rondebolt Road. Durban, if you're stuck on the M7 towards the Bluff, it's a fallen tree blocking a couple of lanes just before the Belleville Road exit. Really heavy from North Dean and North Park. A crash on the N2 at Cement Factory, backlogging traffic from the Chatsworth area. And Cape Town this morning, N1 inbound, Plattercliff Hill through to Kuiper interchange looks heavy. And the run out of Tableview, quite heavy on Marine Drive this morning to Racecourse Road. Also the N7 coming from that side, quite heavy from Plattercliff Road down to the Bosmansdam Road off-ramp. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. It's soccer. The title race is here as Sundowns and Pirates set for a blockbuster showdown. That's tomorrow. And UFC middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis has dismissed the idea that he needs to change his approach when he faces Sean Strickland on Sunday. All these stories and more at around 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes 9 minutes after 7 on this Friday. It's good to be in your company. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. We are into the second hour of the show. Let me tell you what's coming up in this hour. Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa, as you heard in the news bulletin there, delivering his State of the Nation address last night, it was wide-ranging. Naturally, the State of the Nation address always is. But there was a sort of elevation of issues to do with South Africa's role in the world. It was taken a bit higher in the speech, and the president there talking about South Africa insisting that it will not be bullied and that it will play in line with its principles and its sovereignty in playing on the global stage. And he sought to explain some positions that South Africa has taken on a number of international issues, including taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, as well as other matters in the presidency of the G20. Why? Because these have been issues that have been at play in this conversation about the diplomatic standoff between South Africa and the United States. So we'll give you full analysis of the State of the Nation address, not focusing on those elements only, but also focusing on issues of development, including what government plans to do around governance, as well as the fight against corruption and expenditure on service delivery. That conversation with Dr. Thulasizwe Simelane coming up within the next few minutes. Then we'll turn to this conversation I told you about earlier on, that fair amount of confusion that has arisen about whether or not the ANC and the DA, as constituent parties of the national coalition government, have actually struck some kind of an informal agreement about aspects of the National Health Insurance Act. The Minister Marupeni Ramokgopa says they have. Minister of Health, under whose domain the NHI falls, Aaron Motsoaledi, says he knows nothing about it. We are scheduled to speak to the Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, for some clarity at about 20 past 7. And then a bit later on, we'll be in conversation with the CEO of the South African National Roads Agency Limited, SANRAL, and we'll be talking about the expenditure that the agency will be engaging in line with what President Ramaphosa announced around issues of infrastructure development. Some 940 billion rand, we are told, will be spent over the next 3 years on infrastructure development. Of course, your calls, an integral part of this conversation. Give me a call. The number to dial 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The second hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Whether you're having a early, snoozy, tantrumy, chill, frustrating, or jokey morning, mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a Burry Burger Double and a short filter coffee for only 39.90 from 6 to 10:30 a.m. at McDonald's.
Reigning champions and log leaders Masandawana have a massive task to deliver maximum points to Klorkop. But the Buccaneers are eyeing the top spot. They want to paint the capital city in black and white. Miguel Cardoso is up against Jose Rivero. Ukono Zokala. This is the Betway Premiership. Witness Mzanti's beautiful game. Mamelodi Sundowns FC versus Orlando Pirates FC. This Saturday, 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
13 minutes after 7. President Cyril Ramaphosa has sought to explain South Africa's positions on various issues of international concern, albeit without direct allusion to the growing diplomatic standoff with the United States. In his State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa explained the reasoning behind South Africa taking Israel to the International Court of Justice over its military operations in Gaza, saying South Africa acted acted in accordance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention. In the wake of criticism by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Ramaphosa has also explained the theme of solidarity, equality, and sustainable development, which South Africa has chosen for its G20 presidency, and that he says it is to underscore the need for cooperation and partnership among the countries of the world. That was just one of the aspects that came out from the State of the Nation. Let's now unpack all of it. I'm joined by Dr. Thulasizwe Simelane, who is Deputy Chairperson of Defend Our Democracy. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you for your time. Just broadly, your key takeouts from this speech, either on the international front, but also in relation to what the President had to say outlining government's program of action domestically.
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for your listeners as well. So I have three key kind of takeaways from the speech yesterday. On the international front, there was a need for the president in a year in which our geopolitics has really put South Africa in the spotlight in different ways to take a hard stance about, over the last 2 years, the country trying to be the moral compass of the world again. And it's quite easy for South Africa to be the moral compass when you're pointing the finger outside. It becomes a lot harder and a more nuanced when people start pointing fingers at you, your decisions, how you place yourself on the continent and on the global level. And I think the president balanced that well, about standing firm about South Africa not being bullied, was also not ostracizing him against other leaders, right? So not picking a fight with Paul Kagame where he could have, not picking a fight with President Donald Trump when he could have, but just saying that South Africa will stay put. On a more domestic front, I think one of my big takeaways, two of them, one is that there is a need for South Africans to think about SONA as an accountability mechanism rather than a wish list exercise for the future. And I don't say that in a disparaging way, but there's become a trend over the last 5-6 years now of announcing multiple plans, but no one reporting back around whether these plans happened or not. So there was a raft of plans that were put forth by the president yesterday, from the infrastructure fund to the innovation fund to the graduate recruitment selection team. There was a ton that was put forward by the president, but then you had a ton of organizations coming out online yesterday saying, but the promises that you made in 2021 weren't fulfilled. The promises that were made in 2023 weren't fulfilled. So how do we do this now? That being said, I thought the president did well in highlighting the complexities of a GNU government in particular, of balancing the different interests of different parties. So the DA being highlighted in the president's address around the visa system, which was something that Minister Schreiber really pushed over the last year, or getting rid of the backlog. And that balance was very, very interesting, but it'll be interesting to see how people claim victories within a government when you're coalition partner in particular.
So you did get that sense of an infusion of the lines of thinking and approach to problems that come with having, a multi-party government?
Yes, so you can definitely see particular policies that were pushed, and a lot of the former opposition parties that find themselves in government had a very small window of 6-7 months last year to really try and put their policy agenda at a very limited level. We'll see a lot more after the budget is announced and the medium-term development strategy is kind of set into motion. But there's little wins that you could see from the opposition. You can see this balancing act of the ANC can't just make decisions on their own. There's going to be a lot of hiccups on the way. So, the great example is the president's decision and announcement around DPI has been a dead-in-the-water policy for a very long time until the GNU came in. As I mentioned before, DPI being digital public infrastructure. And the president's announcement around this online visa system, his announcement around getting rid of this backlog in home affairs. These are things that the opposition parties who are now in government really were pushing beforehand. So you can see that balance gap, but it's not perfect. As a lot of the partners in the coalition, the GNU said, a lot of them only heard about what the president was going to say on the day, right? But this is something that we'll iron out and will be interesting to see over the course of the next year.
So talk to me about the concrete promises and undertakings. I found the whole undertaking around finalizing a modernized and comprehensive industrial policy and within that policy focusing on opportunities from localization, diversification, digitization and decarbonization, a lot of those that came through. I found that quite interesting, as well as the big undertaking about the big, massive infrastructure spend over the next 3 years.
Yeah, so we can tackle both of them. So on the first one, the EFF actually made such an interesting point yesterday around how South Africa's deindustrializing, whilst the president was saying that we are industrializing. And it's really about where the president's focus around economic development is when it comes to industrialization. And a lot of this comes from the partnership the presidency has with Business for South Africa and BLSA around logistical support, energy supply in the country in particular. So a lot of the industrialization is happening in industries that are quite extractive in nature, right? So we're talking about mining, we're talking about finance, where the money doesn't necessarily, the industrialization doesn't necessarily create jobs per se. It might fund initiatives and might create a few jobs here and there, but it doesn't tackle the unemployment issue. So we need to approach the conversation of industrialization about what type of industrialization is this? Is it domestic based? Is it about export focused? Is it about creating jobs? And I think the president does need to clarify that going forward. Other than that, I thought all the other initiatives the president announced, whether it's a transformation fund to enhance small businesses, I thought that was a brilliant idea. But again, this transformation fund is for businesses to apply for grant money or procurement from government in particular. So we're still struggling to create this enabling environment for business, that small businesses aren't reliant on government contracts to succeed, that they create a business environment where you succeed regardless. And I think that the president missed the mark on that, but it's something that will increase as business confidence continues to grow in the country as it has over the past 6 months or so.
Always a pleasure talking to you. That's Dr. Thulasizwe Simelane, who is the Deputy Chairperson of Defend Our Democracy.
Ethical is what defines our business. I think our insurance does have integrity. They are not just there for the money, they're there to create a relationship. It's like a partner in business. It's the best thing we've ever done to switch over to our insurance. It's a no-brainer.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Action is getting tougher in the second half of the league. The Folks want to ease off pressure with a win, but the Eagles aim to fly with 3 points to remain in the top 5.
This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be.
Catch Borussia Mönchengladbach FC versus Eintracht Frankfurt FC on Saturday, 8 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
22 minutes after 7. Well, there's a fair amount of confusion now about whether or not the ANC and the DA, as constituent parties of the National Coalition Government, have struck an informal agreement about aspects of the National Health Insurance Act that had been points of contention. News 24 recently reported on an interview that they conducted with Minister for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Marupine Ramokgopa, who told the news outlet that such a deal had been struck, which would see provisions that some believe would collapse private medical aids stayed. But the Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, under whose domain the implementation of the NHI has been quoted as saying he knows nothing about the agreement, despite Ramokgopa saying he was a part of its negotiation. So let's get clarity. I'm joined now by Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. Good morning to you, Minister, and thank you for your time. Is there a deal or is there no deal that has been struck on the NHI that deals with these particular aspects that were contentious?
Well, Thulasizwe, I answered this question many times. I was not in any meeting where any deal was struck, and I still want to emphasize that I don't understand exactly why people will believe that a deal will be struck to change a particular type of law. NHI is an act of parliament passed by the whole parliament. You can't have two parties sitting together and say we are having a deal to subvert the law. Because the way I understand it, you are talking about a deal to subvert the law, whereby you are changing certain aspects of the law. And I'm sure you are aware that that's not how things are done. That's number one. Number two, it is said that the deal was about not collapsing medical aids. The NHI Act has never mentioned anywhere. You can go and look through the whole Act and read. There's nowhere where it says will collapse medical aid. All it says is that when NHI is up and running, and that will be after many years, by the way, because there's nobody in the world who has started the universal healthcare system that started working on the first day and everything is done. It takes time. Medical aids themselves started in 1967. Even up to today, they are still implementing. So it's going to take some bit of time. And when that time comes where NHI is fully running, all we're saying is that when it funds something, some aspect of illness for the population, medical aids cannot fund the same thing. They can only be complementary. In other words, you can't duplicate. The president gave a good example, yesterday, which I want to repeat, that if we put up a program, and we are going to do so, by the way, that every pregnant woman must have some benefit due to her pregnancy in terms of the healthcare system, whereby she must go and see a GP a certain number of times during the pregnancy, and the NHI must pay, or go to see a specialist a certain times and be put under a scanner to see if the baby is normal and have a package for delivery. Once you come up with such a thing and say NHI will pay, why should medical aid pay for exactly the same thing? That duplication, that's what will make healthcare very, very expensive. That's what the Act is saying. It doesn't talk about collapsing medical aids as such.
We'll get to into the contents of that aspect, Minister, whether or not there's collapsing of medical aids or complementarity with the NHI. But I do believe that the confusion then needs to be clarified. When News 24 reports that Minister Marupini Ramokgopa told them that she met, and I'm quoting here, Ramokgopa said she met Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi and DA leader John Steenhuisen, who is also Agriculture Minister, on the sidelines of last week's Cabinet Lekgotla in Pretoria. You're saying that meeting never took place?
I didn't say it never took place. I just said if it did, I was not there. I was not part of it. That's all I'm saying. If it took place, I won't know. All I'm saying is that I was never in a meeting with Steenhuisen last week, except in the Lekgotla itself. Yes, for both of us in the Lekgotla, because all ministers attend the Lekgotla. That's all I'm saying.
Could it be that you met with Minister Ramokgopa on the sidelines then? Perhaps she was doing shuttle diplomacy between the two of you and perhaps pulling together something that she believes was an agreement?
Now you're putting me in a very difficult position to start guessing and all that. All I am saying is that I was never in any meeting with Steenhuisen where we struck any deal. And secondly, I am saying the thing you call a deal cannot even happen because it will be illegal. If something is in an act, you can't have two political parties, no matter how big they are, sitting together and saying this part of act. Let's make a deal on it. It's not there.
Well, Minister, it can't be there. It could be a deal that says we're going to amend this law before we even implement it and agree that this is what it means for private medical aids and this is what it does not mean for private medical aids.
Then you don't go and announce it. If anybody wants to amend the law, Thulasizwe, you come to Parliament and saying this part, because that law was passed by Parliament. What will other members of Parliament hear? If they pass a law and they come in here that some two people will sit in a corner talking about how to deal with this law, how will that be for the other parties which were there when the law was passed?
So as far as you are concerned, where do things stand in as far as the NHI Act is concerned, particularly Section 33? And you were talking to it a bit earlier on about its insistence that there should be no duplication. Does that section stand? And no prospect of it being amended, and if to the extent that the other parties have an issue with it, well, that issue continues to exist.
There is no law in the world that does never get amended, It does not exist, even the Constitution itself. I can't stand here on the radio and tell you that no aspect of the law will ever be amended. There's no such a thing in the world. Even the Constitution anywhere in the world gets amended. But when it gets amended, it must be through the normal channels, and it must be for the best of the country.
Yeah.
That's exactly what must happen here. So you can't say it may not be amended. It may as well be, it may be changed, it may whatever Parliament wants to do with it. That has happened many times.
Yeah.
Even the electoral law, we have just amended it just before elections. You know that very well. So no law can never be amended.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is when you amend them, there are normal channels through Parliament through which that is done.
Would you say Minister Ramokgopa misled us then?
No, I'm not saying so. You can ask them. All I am saying is that I was never in any meeting with TNA.
Well, that's what it amounts to. If the quote by News 24 is correct, that she said she met both of you, and you are saying you were never part of that meeting. That amounts.
Well,
to...
you are saying if News 24 says correct, so maybe you better ask both of them, News 24 and her. All I'm saying is on my part, and I'm repeating, I was never in any meeting with TNA except sitting together in the same hall during the Lokota, in which you, as journalists, came to photograph us, and you found us there, and all ministers were there. Any other outside deal, I say I don't know anything about it. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Minister, thank you for your time this morning and for clarifying those aspects. That's Minister of Health, Aaron Motsoaledi there. Yeah, so there you have it, clear as mud, right? In terms of whether or not there is a deal or not. I don't know. What do you think of it? What do you make of it, having heard the Minister and what he is saying, his account of where things stand? You can weigh in on that. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. For now, let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced plans to improve service delivery at municipal level. Speaking during the State of the Nation address, the President said there will be a review of the design of local government, including how it is funded. A 30-year-old farmer, Peter Grobler, accused of distributing expired food products, has been released on 8,000 rand bail by the Secunda Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga. He was arrested by the Hawks following a tip-off that he was allegedly repackaging and distributing expired food and other items for retailers in the Governormbeke local municipality. And as the country waits for the repatriation of the mortal remains of 14 SANDF members from the eastern DRC, the SANDF says the process has encountered some delays. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's reasonably busy around some incidents on Gauteng highways today. A crash coming out of Benoni in towards Boksburg. That's happened before you get to Rondebowl Road, and it's pushing a heavy backlog right through to Snake Road. Other side of town, a collision on the M1 North coming out of Soweto up by Gordon Road. That's heavy traffic queuing back beyond the N17, back towards sort of Soweto highway territory, and also a truck crash involved on the N1 South in Pretoria near Linwood Road, and that queue building back towards Stormful Road and looking pretty heavily back behind that. The N4 inbound from Watermeer to get into that N1 South is heavy, and separately there's a crash on the N4 at Simon from Mooten towards Pretoria, which is your first sort of queue, that queue, and then the queue from Watermeer onto the N1 collision scene. Durban, the M7 into Pinetown's heavy. Looks like the lights on St John's Avenue Bridge are down again. The M2 North at Cement Factory, crashed there this morning, backlogging traffic from Chatsworth side. And Cape Town, heavy pressure if you're on the run between Simonstown and Fishhook. The main road closed just south of Dido Valley Road due to a burst water main. We saw a Gold Narrow bus actually get caught in that sinkhole related to the burst water main yesterday. The road is closed this morning, so you're sitting in some quite heavy localised traffic on the detour around that. And some roadworks underway on the N7, Jake Scoville Drive, to fix that uneven road surface at Bonte-Hevel, so extra delays north and southbound on that section of the N7 between the N2 and Epping. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. So this one is a big one, right? In as far as the title race is concerned. Sundowns versus Pirates.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a very interesting one because Miguel Cardoso is saying, whatever happens, the race is still open.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
Wow.
I don't know what to say. It's going to be these guys are in form, Sundowns, and then we've got Pirates who have got the history.
Yeah.
So anything can happen. And we're looking forward to the title race. Sundowns, Pirates tomorrow. Loftus Versfeld, the venue. The Brazilians are under their new coach, Miguel Cardoso. They have been unstoppable, winning 6 in a row, scoring 13 goals and conceding just 1. Pirates, however, are also on a solid run, coming off back-to-back victories against Kaizer Chiefs and Sekhukhune United, with just 6 points between them. A Pirates win could shake up the title race, while a Sundowns victory will solidify their dominance. Kickoff is at 3:30, and you can catch it live on SABC Sport. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns talisman Themba Zwane confirming his return to training following surgery to repair an Achilles injury. The Bafana midfielder got hurt while on national duty 4 months ago. Although he won't be in action tomorrow, Zwane offered his view on the clash between the log leader Sundowns and second place Orlando Pirates.
It's an exciting game on Saturday, and they are a good team, and we can say the same about us. I think for us, our plan is to go at them. We know that if we put more pressure and we're consistent on what we are doing, and our rest defense is proper, I think we've got a chance to win.
Now, defending champions Liverpool will once again contest the EFL Cup final after a 4-0 win over Tottenham in the second leg of their semi-final at Anfield. Goals from Cody Gakpo, Mohamed Salah, Dominic Szoboszlai and captain Virgil van Dijk saw Liverpool secure a place at Wembley Stadium, where they'll face Newcastle United. Here's Liverpool boss Anslot.
Tottenham is conceding goals because they have so many injury problems. That's probably the main reason why they are conceding goals, but they are always able to score goals as well and create a lot. And for us to be so aggressive without the ball that it took them 80 minutes before they had their first shot on target doesn't tell you anything about Tottenham. That should tell you a lot about our work rate without the ball. And I think that's what stood out for me.
And we have sibling rivalry as plenty of drama with the SA20 cricket tournament. Jordan Herman of the Sunrisers Eastern Cape took on his older brother Ruben Herman of the Paarl Royals, and both brothers hitting half-century, but it was Jordan who had the last laugh as the Sunrisers chased down 176 with 4 balls to spare. And UFC middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis dismissing the idea he needs to change his approach when facing Sean Strickland come Sunday. The South African fighter will defend his title against the American in Sydney, Australia. This is not the first encounter between the two. Du Plessis previously defeated Strickland in January of last year in Toronto, Canada, to take control of the division. Du Plessis believes there's no better opponent in the middleweight division to face in the ring right now.
I think Strickland is the best middleweight in the world right now, behind myself. And he deserves to be here. I know he's an incredible, incredible fighter. He's so good defensively. He's tough. He's hard to hit, and when you hit him, it doesn't have that effect as, on normal guys. This man is an apex predator. So this is the toughest fight of my life coming up, and I'm ready for that because I'm an apex predator, and he's in my area right now. We're going to go to that dark place from the word get-go, and we'll see who comes out. And I can't wait for that, because even if this goes to a decision again, it will be an all-out war, and there will be no doubt that I'm the best in the world.
Plenty of heavyweight sport coming up for you. More at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling once again. So Ndauling, she was suspended a few months ago. I think it's about 2 to 3 months ago. Nomba Satsengwa suspended as CEO of Exaro. And now new developments, and she's walking away. Ndauling, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Tulas. Unfortunate news there. Suspended Exxaro CEO Nombasa Tsengwa resigning effective immediately following her failed court bid to overturn her suspension. Now, Tsengwa's departure comes after more than 20 years with the company, including nearly 3 years as CEO. Her suspension in December stemmed from allegations of workplace and governance issues, which she argued were illegal and an overstep by the board. According to her resignation letter obtained by Business Day, Tsengwa defends the claims of misconduct and fostering a toxic culture. She questions the shift from initial accusations to new allegations of conflict of interest, including advancing her late partner's business interests and undermining the board's trust. Now, the resignation marks the end of a chaotic few months for Tsengwa, who was thrust into the spotlight in December after a Sunday Times report cited unnamed sources claiming her management style and workplace culture led to the resignation or suspension of 9 executives. Tsengwa's departure leaves a gap in Exxaro's leadership, particularly as the company navigates a growth strategy to diversify its assets away from coal and mitigate the risks of decarbonization. The company will now begin the process to appoint a new CEO, with Finance Director Rian Kopeshaw serving as acting chief in the interim.
And then tell me about the proposed buyout of Barloworld. You're saying there's an investor that's standing in the way. Who is this investor?
That's right, Tula. So Barloworld's third largest shareholder, Silchester, has reiterated its rejection of the buyout offer from a consortium led by the company's CEO, Dominic Sewela, and Saudi Arabian group Zahid. Silchester says the offer undervalues the company and is seeking a higher price of 130 Rand per share. The current buyout offer is of 120 Rand per share. Now, the shareholder has also criticized Barloworld's handling of conflicts of interest, particularly with regard to Sewela's involvement in the buyout consortium. Silchester has stated that it will vote against the remuneration of the independent board established to consider the offer and will oppose the re-election of Barloworld's directors. The consortium's offer requires approval from about 75% of eligible shareholders, and Silchester's opposition may be sufficient to block the deal as it holds a 17.7% stake. The shareholder has also indicated that it will not participate in a standby offer, which would allow the consortium to acquire shares from willing sellers even if the main offer fails. Analysts believe that Silchester's opposition may lead to the consortium revising its offer or potentially abandoning the deal. But there is also speculation that the consortium may attempt to acquire shares from other shareholders and then return with a new offer in the future.
Yeah, a bit of drama there. A bit of fascinating boardroom drama. Give us our second update from the markets for this morning, Dowling.
So markets in Asia pouring gains, with the Nikkei slipping into the red. Traders on that end assessing economic data with focus on Japanese household spending numbers. With that, the Nikkei is down over 0.5%, but the Hong Kong Hang Seng is trending in the green, trading 1.3% higher this hour. Meanwhile, in Wall Street, futures are flat, sitting below the flat line. Traders approaching equity markets with caution ahead of U.S. jobs numbers out later today, just to give investors and traders insight on the health of the labor market. And then over on the JSE here at home, markets closing in the green in yesterday's session, with the all share gaining traction, closing up close to 0.7%. The rand also making gains, trading stronger at 18.45 to the dollar.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ntawling Lichela. She'll be back with one more update for you before the resumption of trade on the JSE. That update coming up after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning to you. Tell me about this gentleman, this man, Kone Nanga, emerging as the leader of M23, and his profile is growing, but the military court system in the DRC wants to have a conversation with him.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa, to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, remember I have already spoke about this figure that Cornelia Nanga is the leader of M23, being a former head of the Electoral Commission of DRC. Now, the military justice system of the DRC under Colonel Magistrate Induta Muntu Parafita yesterday issued a warrant of arrest, and that is immediate arrest, Thulas, and that he has to be transferred to Kinshasa. The charges are around failure to prevent acts of torture under his authority. As they were issuing this warrant, Nanga was in Goma, Thulas, for the first time at a public meeting, assuring them that they are bringing peace in the DRC, and if they don't want them to stay in Goma, they will continue to the capital city, Kinshasa. We know, Thulas, there have been many issues in terms of the numbers of people who have been killed in Goma. We've spoken about ICC this week trying to open a file, but it is important to know that Colonel Nanga, there's a warrant of arrest that has been put against him.
Yeah. Speaking of developments out of the Congo, this meeting between the East Africa community and SADC is finally taking place, and there'll be participation by the Congolese President Tshisekedi.
This is what we have got yesterday, and we don't know, maybe it is the coincidence of this warrant of arrest of Colonel Naga, but there are high stakes tomorrow in the summit. This summit starts today, with what we will call the senior officials or your ministers of international relations will pave the way for the heads of state who will be engaging tomorrow in Dar es Salaam. We're expecting Felix Tshisekedi, Paul Kagame to be present, Yoweri Museveni, as well as President Ramaphosa and the President of Somalia are expected. Remember, William Ruto, as well as Emerson Mnangagwa, Samia Sulu, are the key people to us who will be engaging on this peace summit that is expected in Tanzania to handle the issue of the DRC, particularly the Eastern DRC.
Yeah. Let's turn to the situation in Sudan. The UN, tell me about the UN's concerns about how conflict in one of the Sudans is impacting stability of the other Sudan.
Nicolas Haysom Thulas is a special representative of the UN Secretary General, and he's also heading the UN mission in the South Sudan. Now, in his briefing to the UN Security Council, he has linked the conflict in the North Sudan to say its negative impact it is affecting the South Sudan, in the sense that there were unrest in the capital city of the South Sudan following the killing of the South Sudanese in Wadam Madani. Remember, I spoke about that killing that happened a week ago to us, and now the special representative is linking this issue that it is actually derailing the electoral process in the South Sudan. It is also affecting economy of the South Sudan, because you have refugees who move from North Sudan to South Sudan.
Yeah, and Sipho, just on continental development, I can't believe it's been 5 years since the signing and coming into effect of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and it's a good point to reflect on its performance, is it not?
Yes, it is, and we heard President Ramaphosa yesterday emphasizing on the Africa Continental Free Trade, talking about infrastructure, the railway lines, the ports, the harbors. But what is important is it is to us, others are saying that is it already failing, considering that out of 55 member states, you have only 46 who have ratified this. But when you look at the elimination of tariffs of the goods to us, it is, they are looking at 2034, but there is no movement in that area. But Wamkelamene is pushing to us because, there are issues that we have to look into, connectivity of slowing down the trade. You look at the issues that also affect the clothing, the clothing industry. They were looking at Kenya also. What has it done so far? They were looking at the building of bridges as well between Cameroon and as well as other Western African countries. But that's where Africa Continental Free Trade to us, we know there was an interruption of COVID-19. And I think in the coming years, they need to push by all means necessary. More so, you've got the threat coming from the U.S.
Lastly, Sipho, in your historical archives, take me back to the 7th of February 1986. What happened?
39 years ago, we say the scholar died in his sleep. A philosopher, a scholar, a Pan-Africanist, a writer who questioned a lot of issues around African civilization, is the son of the soil from Senegal, Dakar, Cheikh Anta Diop. He passed at the age of 63 to us. This was a great man. If people want to philosophize this concept of African renaissance, the rebirth of the continent. Let's look to Cheikh Anta Diop, the son of the soil, who passed away on this day in 1986. Asante sana Thulas, as we're still leading the conversation, SAFM observing the Black History Month.
That is Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update, just giving you a sampling and a flavor of some of the key stories and developments around the continent and its diaspora.
Outsurance definitely understands the nature of our business. Being properly insured is extremely important to the success of our business.
They come to the party very quickly, resolve things.
Actions speak much louder than words. Outsurance have shown us nothing but action.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Pick your 6 lucky numbers and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 31 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Don't miss out. Play Powerball for an estimated 19 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 12 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery. Reigning champions and log leaders Masandawana have a massive task to deliver maximum points to Tloorkop. But the Buccaneers are eyeing the top spot. They want to paint the capital city in black and white. Miguel Cardoso is up against Jose Rivero. This is the Betway Premiership. Witness Mzanti's beautiful game. Mamelodi Sundowns FC versus Orlando Pirates FC. This Saturday, 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning. Don't forget that protesting City Deep area of Joburg. We're just getting people tweeting in saying what's happening down that side, Vickers and Heidelberg. Burning tyres earlier this morning. In fact, very much overnight last night with an impact this morning on traffic flow through that area. Vickers Road particularly heavily backed up. Crash on the N12 before Rondebolt Road. It's heavy coming in from Benoni Quays back through Snake Road back towards Pitfontein. That's really bad. Also, other side of town, a crash near Gordon Road on the N1 going north out of Soweto. That's a heavy backlog, and a big truck crash coming out of Pretoria, N1 south before Atterbury. That is a heavy queue that extends back through Stormville and getting back towards Montana. There must be multiple lanes closed at that scene. Behind it, the N4, well, if you're coming in on the N4, Emelathleni Highway, it's a crash at Simon Vermooten. That's your first delay towards Pretoria. Then you queue heavily from Watermeyer Street trying to get into that N1 south queue. Dustport Tunnel's very heavy as well, by the way, on that side of Pretoria. Durban, a crash taking a while to clear up. It's on the N2 north near Cement Factory, so the run up from Umlazi stays heavy. The fallen tree on the M7 at Queensborough's been cleared away. That traffic starting to move through. Don't forget this weekend in Durban, Spaghetti Junction closure. It's the first of 4 consecutive weekends where the N3 inbound closes to the link to the N2 to go towards the south coast. 2 p.m. on Saturday, right through until 2 a.m. on the Monday morning. Cape Town crash on the N7 inbound at Jake Scoville Drive. Just watch for some slowing traffic there. And the main road between Fishhook and Simonstown remains closed just around the Dido Valley Road, and that's causing a really big backlog between Cairnside and Simonstown as you divert onto some local routes up around the mountainside. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
8 minutes to 8. Let's shift our attention to this now. Among the many commitments contained in President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address was an undertaking that government would spend a massive 940 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years. That's huge. We are told it includes 375 billion rand spending by state-owned enterprises, and that it will include revitalizing roads and bridges, build dams and waterways, modernize our ports and airports, and power our economy. So let's speak to one of the agencies that will be at the forefront of this spend, the South African National Roads Agency Limited, SANRAL, and I'm joined by its CEO, Reginald Damana. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So you must have been excited when you heard the President talking about these plans for all this expenditure. What are the implications for you, and where do they find you, these plans, in terms of your agency's ability to carry out massive projects and continue maintenance?
Yeah, good morning to you and listeners at large. I think the announcement by the President of massive investment in infrastructure, of course, is not new because it's a continuation of the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. You will remember that he launched as a result of as a response to COVID. So that continuation is there, and it is good to see government sticking to that. Obviously, out of the 940 billion is the 375 billion earmarked for state-owned entities such as ours. Indeed, for us, our projects, we spend in the region of some 30 billion rand every year. We have just awarded between April and December 53 billion rand worth of contracts, which will now be rolled out in the coming months as we head into 2025. And we continue to hope that there will be much more activity by other agencies within the infrastructure space, in particular those supporting transport and logistics, because really transport is at the heartbeat of economic growth as well as social development.
Among the projects that the President singled out that fall within your domain is the M10 Bridge in the Eastern Cape. Tell me a bit more about that project and how far it has gone and when completion can be expected.
Yeah, it is a project that is part of two mega projects in the N2 Wild Coast. That part of the world in the Pondoland, we are developing a road that will connect Port Edward to Port St. John's and all the way to Mtanta. About 60-80 kilometers of that is greenfields, cutting through mountains and valleys and crossing very wide rivers. So we need a number of bridges, and Mtendu is one of them. We got that project going early in 2023 when I just joined SANRAL. Of course, the contractor was appointed in 2022. It's going to be one of the longest bridges, and as the President indicated, in terms of height, by the time it's done, it will be the tallest bridge when you're measuring from the river up. So that area is blessed with natural beauty, massive valleys, very big rivers, and it requires infrastructure of this type. We are hoping that towards 2027, 2028, that bridge will be complete, together with the Msikaba Bridge that is almost next to it, as well as the various road pieces that link the bridges and ultimately to Port St. John's, as well as Port Edward on the KZN side.
You had run into some difficulty a few months ago with concerns from the community. What work have you done to allay the concerns of various communities in that area?
Stakeholder engagement is very key, as you can imagine, in infrastructure projects of this nature. And engagement with communities must continue, is ongoing. Part of contestations will be people looking for opportunities to supply materials, looking for jobs, being part of SMME programs and all of that. And we continue to engage and improve, listen to them where indeed we can accommodate each other. We have a project license committee that is made of different local stakeholders. It's a common feature of each project to help manage stakeholders in any particular project. And that work continues with our team.
But can you blame the communities being concerned about them having a stake in your developmental projects? What with some of the issues that came to the fore a few years ago, concerns about the extent to which SANRAL contracts or goes into joint ventures with foreign companies. These were raised by a few years ago by the South African Institute of Civil Engineering, for example, talking about some 6.65 billion rand of your contracts having gone to foreign companies. Can you blame these communities when they have their guard up, even as you're trying to develop projects in their areas?
Yeah, no, I think we are mixing a few things. So community participation and communities looking for a stake and deriving value out of projects, no one can blame them. And it's a requirement that we must do that at all projects, irrespective of who the contractor is, whether it's local, foreign, or joint venture. We must always look after communities where projects are passing through their villages and areas. So that's a standard feature. If we now talk about joint ventures, by the way, SANRAL doesn't enter into joint ventures. It simply contracts work to contractors, some of whom might be in joint venture, some of whom might have international participation through that. We let out work through open tenders. And anybody who qualifies with the laws of the country, registration in the country, their right B level, they are tax compliant, they have a CIDB registration, they are on the so-called CSD database in National Treasury, they can bid. Those are the laws. So it's open to everyone who qualifies. We don't control that. But SANRAL in itself doesn't enter into joint ventures.
All right. Lastly, just tell me about how you are able to carry out all of these projects. I'm looking at your figures. They are quite impressive, including, the 12.3 billion rand capital projects for the past financial year, 10.7 billion rand on road maintenance, some 1,984 kilometers that you have resurfaced. How are you doing all of this in light of funding concerns following, for example, projects such as the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project?
Yeah, look, I think a couple of things go into that ingredients. One is that you have a very good support from government, indicative by this commitment by the president to spend so much money on infrastructure. The second one is that you also have a very supportive ministry. Political leadership matters in these things to keep driving the entity to deliver the services. And of course, governance at a board level and management, having a leadership team that is also committed and leading, making sure that the entity is stable, very important. And lastly, SANRAL has been able to hang on to its engineers, many of whom started in the days that the entity was still a division of the department. So having the requisite skills, engineering and otherwise, to keep running the business is key.
All right. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That is the CEO of the South African National Roads Agency Limited, and that is Reginald Damana. Let's get your latest news now from N. Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 rand. SMS out to 30760. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, President Ramaphosa announces plans to improve service delivery, and SAFA president and two co-accused back in court. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced plans to improve service delivery at the municipal level. Speaking during the State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa says there will be a review of the design of local government, including how it's funded, as well as the implementation of measures to improve the maintenance of infrastructure.
Starting this year, we will work with our municipalities to establish professionally managed ring-fenced utilities for water and electricity services to ensure that there is adequate investment and maintenance. Many of the challenges in municipalities also arise from the design of our local government system. We will therefore undertake extensive consultation to develop an updated white paper on local government to outline a modern and fit-for-purpose local government system. We will also review the funding model for municipalities.
The president says government plans to spend over 900 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years.
And government will spend more than 940 billion rand on infrastructure over the next 3 years. Now, this includes 375 billion rand in spending by state-owned enterprises. This funding will revitalize our roads and bridges. It will build dams and waterways. It will modernize our ports and airports and also power our economy. Through the infrastructure fund that we launched some time ago, 12 blended finance projects worth nearly 38 billion rand have been approved in the last year.
Meanwhile, MK party spokesperson Tlamula Ndlela says the president's speech shows that he has run out of ideas.
You can tell that this man has got no ideas whatsoever. He talks about local municipalities. All he's doing is he's privatizing water and electricity. He's setting up entities, and we mentioned this actually in Parliament, because we could see there's another way of privatizing water, privatizing electricity, and then so-called introducing grants to fund these initiatives. Meanwhile, these are actually loans that are coming from IMF and World Bank.
Bold One South Africa leader Thulasizwe Simelane says the president had missed an opportunity to put forward bold and decisive steps of action to build a capable state.
If you want to build a capable state, you can't afford to have any corruption at any level, especially at senior levels. And we've seen how some ministers have been accused of so many things. The collapse of local government is a function of corruption. And therefore we needed to see deliberate action about what we're going to do around corruption. We need to be able to finance development, and I'm not sure the president is acting in a manner that delivers financial plan.
SAFA President Danny Jordan and his two co-accused will be back in the Johannesburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court east of Johannesburg this morning. Jordan, SAFA CFO Gruni Hluyo and Public Relations Company boss Trevor Neethling face charges of theft and fraud amounting to 1.3 million rand. Jordan is alleged to have employed Grit Communications for purposes of protecting his personal image following allegations of rape leveled against him in 2017. At their previous appearance in December, applications lodged by the prosecution and defence were dismissed, allowing for the matter to continue today. The trio are currently out on 20,000 rand bail each. A 30-year-old farmer, Peter Globlar, accused of distributing expired food products, has been released on 8,000 rand bail by the Secunda Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga. He was arrested by the Hawks following a tip-off that he was allegedly repackaging and distributing expired food and other items for retailers in the Governambeki local municipality. The provincial Hawks spokesperson, Maguseni Nkosi, elaborates.
On arrival here, find that there are a lot of plastic packages and pricing machines. That means the person is reselling the food. And we managed to send our team down the ground to do further investigation. We have identified some few shops that were recipient of this food stuff. But our investigation continues.
And finally, as the country awaits for the repatriation of the mortal remains of 14 SANDF members from the Eastern DRC, the SANDF says the process has encountered some delays. The SANDF Chief General Rudzani Mapwanya had told Parliamentary Joint Standing Committee on Defence and Military Veterans that they will be repatriated on Wednesday. Kailihle Kumalo has more.
In a brief statement issued by the SANDF, they say all administrative processes have been completed and handed over to the United Nations. The UN planned movement for the repatriation of the deceased out of the combat zone.
Recapping the top story, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced plans to improve service delivery at municipal level. Ramaphosa says there will be a review of the design of local government, including how it's funded, as well as the implementation of measures to improve the maintenance of infrastructure. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
It's the month for secret admirers, but it's no secret that with Outsurance, you could save big on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Monthly savings or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good news from Pretoria, the truck crash on the M1 South at Linwood Road, Atterbury, that's being cleared. There is a bit of a bottleneck on the N4. That's a crash at Simon from Newton, and then some more queues after that from Watermeyer on that N4 going in towards the M1. Dustport Tunnel stays very heavy. If you're on the Mopani Highway, avoid turning onto Bremer into the tunnel. You will sit there for what will seem like forever. Crash between Benoni and Boksburg, still holding traffic in the collision coming out of Soweto on the N1 North up by Gordon Road, still causing some delays there as well. Durban, the N2 taking forever to clear this scene. Crash on the N2 North at Cement Factory. Traffic still badly backed from the Umlazi side. And Cape Town, if you're on the South Peninsula, and there's a lot of traffic that way these days, the main road remains effectively closed between Glencairn and Simonstown due to burst water main and sinkhole repairs, and that's sort of sending traffic up Dido Valley Road and up and down around the sort of side of the mountain there. So there's a lot of congestion just north of the Simonstown area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Rugby, it's a big weekend for the Stormers and the Bulls. They face each other tomorrow in the North-South Derby in the United Rugby Championship. And in soccer, the title race carries on as Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates set for their blockbuster showdown. Coming up, all these stories around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Hey folks, good morning to you. We're into the third hour of the Morning Brief. On this Friday, it's good to be in your company. We're reflecting on a number of conversations that we've been having over the last 2 hours. Key among them, of course, are reflections on the State of the Nation address, both the international South Africa's role in the world, as well as the domestic that has to do with plans and programs and the program of action that the President was outlining for delivery of services by the Government of National Unity. A lot that he touched on, and I'd love to hear your reflections. What stood out for you? What was said? What was not said? And what would you have liked to hear more about? But also just that comparison between plans and actual implementation, because part of what happens with the State of the Nation address is a report back on some of the undertakings from previous years. I'll take your calls. The number to dial 086 000 2032, as well as your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. But I do want to tell you about a story that we will cover in the next few minutes. It's a story that we've got to give credit to the Sunday Times for their initial reporting. It has to do with this situation. We've been telling you about the extraordinary number of wildfires that burned. We spoke to Trevor Abrahams a few weeks ago, and he said it's been a busy fire season. Wildfires in various parts of the country. Well, it turns out that while we are facing that situation, many municipalities lack the essential equipment for firefighting. This is happening as hundreds of fire trucks that were donated to government actually sit unused in depots, and some of them as long as 2 years. So in the next few minutes, I'll be in conversation with the Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, and that's Bernice Swart. We'll take that conversation and then ask you to reflect on it, as well as other conversations that are on the go this morning. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The third hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Whether you're having a early, snoozy,
tantrumy. Chill. Frustrating. Or jokey. Morning. Mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a Burry Burger double and a short filter coffee for only R39.90 from 6 to 10:30 a.m. at McDonald's.
Action is getting tougher in the second half of the league. The Folks want to ease off pressure with a win, but the Eagles aim to fly with 3 points to remain in the top 5. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Mönchengladbach FC versus Eintracht Frankfurt FC on Saturday, 8 February at 7:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes after 8. Many municipalities are struggling to fight fires effectively when fires arise, and that is because of a lack of essential equipment. Meanwhile, hundreds of fire trucks donated to government are sitting unused in depots, some for as long as 2 years. A report in the Sunday Times reveals that this fleet of fire trucks has been neglected. Working on fire, part of the government's expanded public works program, handed over these trucks to the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, and government was supposed to distribute them to municipalities in need, but instead the trucks remain parked in depots. Let's speak to the Deputy Minister for Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Bernice Swartz. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. In the words of the Northwest Umbrella Fire Protection Association's Erich Stoch, says that the dire situation around these trucks is due to, quote-unquote, gross negligence. It's hard to argue against that sentiment. It is gross negligence, isn't it?
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. I won't say that because I think that what we must first all understand is that this contract that is currently now is following a previous 7-year contracts of the Working on Fire, which is now the Working on Fire JV, Chikungu JV. Now, in the previous contract, there was a contractual obligation of the service provider procuring the fire trucks, and that at the end of the contract, the trucks would be given back to the department. But however, during the AG's audit of the DFFE of 2021-22 financial year, the AG then said to the department that you cannot give a third-party government cars, even though the intention of the department was to help the FPAs, which are the fire protection associations that we work with as the department through the contract of Working on Fire and the WOOF Kishungu JV. Now, when the AG say that we needed to do our part as a department and comply with the AG's funding, that is when last year, in June, the our DG then approved that we donate the cars to the municipalities, because when you take them to municipalities, you are then not taking them to a private third party, but are taking them to a government-to-government entity. But what is happening is that the process, everything has been done to Thulasizwe in terms of talking to the municipalities, requesting them that can you take over the cars, because all is not lost when you take them to the municipalities, because it is still the FPAs that work with the current contractor
Deputy Minister,
that will work with them.
Quite a fair amount of water has passed between the decision to donate them to municipalities being taken in June last year and where we are today. And I say that because according to the report, many of them are now being vandalized in a way.
No, it is not true. all these classes where I can even vouch to you that we can go on a site visit to actually look at the trucks. The trucks are in safe spaces in the municipalities. What is holding us back and is the real issue at hand, Thulasizwe, is that municipalities also have their own internal processes and where they need to take this to council and for council to agree. That national is saying that we must sign an MOU with them and agree to take these trucks, which are already at their bases, which means that the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, Northwest, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo, the disaster management centers have agreed to say bring the trucks, but we've got an internal process because they also get audited. Now, these trucks were in our asset register at national. They must go to the asset register in the municipalities. Now, the only thing that's holding us back to formally hand them over is for the municipalities to say, we have exhausted our internal processes. We are ready now. Sure. There's only one incident, Thulasizwe, where a battery was stolen from one of the trucks, and that municipality even assured us that they've now beefed up their security. Now, I want to say to you, this also must be noted, that in the contract, in the tender contract of this contract, which is a contract that now started on the 6th of January 2023, which will end on the 5th of January 2028, it is very clear, Thulasizwe, that the service provider is the one that must provide the fleet. But in this instance, one year, it is not like the department was just taking trucks and making them to be idle, but we were complying with an AG's finding, where the AG said, I'm demanding a plan from you for these fire trucks, because the AG said, now, in the previous contract, I don't know, Thulasizwe, how they had set up this, because already somebody should have known somewhere that there must be an answer to the AG.
Yeah,
when
it wouldn't be compliant in the way that it was conceived.
Yeah, that when you work with a third party, but I think they just took it that okay, FPAs are called government entities in our little constitution that we have, because we've got a constitution of fire protection associations that we work with. So when you look and you read, these people might have taken it that, okay, an FPA, you call it an entity,
Deputy
now
Minister,
an entity.
I want to move us along. Are you frustrated? Someone listening to this would be saying, so, okay, we sit here with these fire trucks, much needed resources at municipal level. You've told us that they've already been distributed, but they're sitting waiting for certain processes in council to be undertaken. Are you frustrated by any of this? Is this not the administrative red tape and that bureaucracy, the time that it takes to come to a decision? And in the interim, you're saying only one vehicle has had, some kind of problems. In the interim, this is a deteriorating asset, and by the time these processes have ground to their conclusion, perhaps many more would not be in a state of usability.
I can say that it is a bit frustrating because the process is long, but however, we cannot also just say to municipalities, bypass the Section 42 of the Public Finance Management Act, because then municipalities would then also want to say to us, we cannot push them to do illegal things because it would be illegal. In a way, it is very true. We can't say that it's not frustrating because these fire trucks are indeed needed by the fire protection associations because they need to work with them. But on the other hand as well, we also find our hands tied, like you are saying, that there's a lot of processes, and in the public eye, it's simply red tape. But what I'm saying is that they want to say we also cannot bypass Section 42 of the Public Finance Management Act, because then the AG would also find them at fault on the other hand. But on our side is that I can assure you that we are talking to even the AG and trying to push this process. We are trying at all angles because ultimately these trucks need to do the intended purpose, which is to help.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Let's leave it there for this morning. That's Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Bernice Swartz.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take a few of your WhatsApp voice notes that have been coming through. Many of them have to do with the conversations we've had, State of the Nation address, student accommodation, but I also see some of the themes that we've covered all week, the issues around the expropriation legislation in the country.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, TT. This is TT. Thulasizwe, just a quick one. I just wanted to confirm something. I was quite impressed with the way that the president was commanding his speech. In the inception of his speech, he was reading the names of all the 14 fallen heroes. I would like to ask and confirm, was he reading a telescript or was that coming originally from what he had memorized? Quite impressive, I think.
Very impressive. Yeah. Look, I don't know the talents of President Cyril Ramaphosa, but I highly doubt he would have the talent to be able to memorize all of those names. You're absolutely right, Titi. He was reading from a teleprompter. It's one of these, do they call them Obama teleprompters? They were made popular by the U.S. president, then U.S. President Barack Obama. Basically, it's like a mirror. They put a laptop at the bottom and the mirror just projects it, and you have these two arms that come up on either side of the speaker, and the person is able to read from there. That way it looks natural and you don't look like you are reading from something.
Thulasizwe, good morning. 940 billion rand will be spent in infrastructure. Look, my brother, we are just being fooled here. Those people, they're going to steal that money. Basically, nothing will happen on those infrastructure. Here.
Thank you for that. And many will understand your sense of delusion about these undertakings and promises. Many will actually understand, given the track record of how implementation sometimes is hindered by such developments as corruption. And this is why I can't remember who said a bit earlier on, I think it's one of the callers said, it's important to have that report back. Give us a dashboard. Show us. Show and tell. How hard is show and tell? When you're saying 940 billion rand, in 3 years' time, come back and give us a show and tell. With pictures, with evidence, actually, show us what has been done and how much it cost. Did we exceed the budgets that we would have set for ourselves? Thank you for that. Let me take a call from Magdalene in Bloemfontein. Good morning to you, Magdalene. You also want to talk about the State of the Nation address.
Hi, it's good morning, and how are you?
Very well, how are you?
Yep. Yeah, it was so beautiful, same as the state capture, same as the public policies. The problem is the implementation. I do wish the way in which it was put onto us on TV, it could be effectively implemented in that session, with no crooked ways of corruption. I do wish ANC could come to its senses now, not to earmark certain companies to can work back, kick back slack to ANC. I do wish that that presentation could be an eligible presentation, which will be applied to an ordinary South African who is highly interested, who is having an enthusiasm in business and growing South Africa.
Yeah.
I do wish.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Magdalene. That's Magdalene in Bloemfontein. I'll take a call in a moment from Jack in Polokwane, but I want to throw in this one also on the State of the Nation address.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, TT.
No, I think we've done that one, and let's leave it there for now. So let me go straight to Jack in Polokwane. Jack, good morning to you. You're raising an issue that we have not raised in a number of weeks, but an issue that continues to be important. What do you want to say about spaza shops this morning?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I once called you about this registration of spaza shops and the budget that the president said it is available, and I said, who's going to use it? Since then, there's nothing. We don't know how far that issue is. Who benefited? Is the process completed? Or are we waiting for another children to die and then we raise the issue again? How far is it? Is it complete? Who benefited from that 500 million that the president spoke about? Nothing on it.
Yeah.
Can you have an update on that thing, please?
No, absolutely. That's a valid point, Jack. I do remember that the deadline was extended to say continue to register. If I'm not mistaken, it must be until March this year.
Okay.
I could be wrong, the deadline for registration. But you are absolutely right. It comes back, doesn't it, to that issue of a more readily accessible dashboard. If I say to you, here's 500 billion rand or 500 million rand, it is meant for this and that, I should enable you to be able to, without much effort, without going into the website and then go into a tab and followed by another tab, that can only be followed by someone who's really meticulous in following through. But it should be public so that we all know of that money, here's what we have done with it.
Very true, very true, very true.
Yeah, but I take the point you've made. Thank you for that, Jack. It is something worth following up, and the team is listening that we should follow up on the spaza shop registration, but also the money that was meant to help spaza shops, particularly with compliance with regulations. Let's take a voice note on NSFAS at the start of the academic year.
Morning. On the statement that was released by NSFAS, I don't think they're actually using their brains to carry out certain legal procedures. Which business in South Africa can operate without an income for a period of about 4 to 6 months? I don't see that being feasible for anyone. And at this point, I think they should actually house those students themselves at no cost for 6 months and see how they will actually cope.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think you are alluding to the dispute between the private accommodation owners and landlords that work with NSFAS to house students, and NSFAS pays, and then there are delays. We had a conversation, I think, a few weeks ago, must be about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, where the private property owners that play in that space were raising concerns about not being paid, and sometimes being paid after months and months of waiting. So that's the context, to give just a bit of context there. The result is that there's a long-standing dispute, an ongoing dispute between the property owners on the one hand and NSFAS. And I think when we had the conversation, there was talk that it would be difficult as the students are returning from their holidays to start the 2025 academic year. The property owners saying that it is very difficult for us to take in the students and continue as normal when we have so much money that is owed to us. Thank you for that. We'll make time to take more of your calls a bit later on the show. But for now, N. Musa standing by with your news updates.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. South Africa, as a developing country, will not be bullied. This according to President Cyril Ramaphosa in his first State of the Nation address under a government of national unity last night. 2 suspected hitmen arrested for the murder of an ANC councillor and the attempted murder of his sister on Tuesday evening in Sundumbili on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast are expected to appear in court today. And the Western Cape Education Department has cautioned against the filming, distribution and sharing of videos of learners allegedly attacking one another both in and out of school. This past week, the department received various such videos. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Some of the big delays around Joburg are these nicely. The crash coming out of Benoni to Boksburg is clear. The N1 Soweto through to up towards Gordon Road Roodepoort, that is clear. That's seen out of the way. The traffic has moved through. The N1 South, that truck crash near Atterbury Road, which caused big delays coming out of Pretoria, that is out of the way as well. And the N4 coming inbound from Mamelodi through to Simon Vermooten on your way to Pretoria. That traffic starting to flow past an earlier crash as well. So looking a lot better. Apart from that, fairly light volume. Just Friday. Durban, the N2 northbound at the cement factory. That scene has finally been cleared as well. Update from Cape Town down around Simonstown, the main road that was closed between Glencairn and Simonstown this morning. Looks like it's reopened running south into Simonstown, but staying closed up towards Dido Valley Road on your way away from Simonstown. So still likely to be some disruption there for a while. N1 inbound, pretty heavy for a Friday, still queuing up from Plattekloof Hill to the elevated freeway, and the N2, a lot of pressure there still from Bunga Avenue, Langa side, through to Hospital Bend. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you once again. Let's talk rugby. The North meets the South in Cape Town's ultimate rugby showdown.
I mean, can you imagine? It's the Bulls. They're going to win and hopefully want to win in Cape Town. Is that possible?
Is that a Freudian slip on your part? They're going to win.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know. The Bulls, I don't know. They might just have to decide what's going to happen. They're bringing some heavy weights to the title facts, so let's hope there'll be no soft landings for them. Cape Town is buzzing at the moment. It's the Stormers and the Bulls. It's a classic North-South derby. It's sold out at the moment at the DHL Stadium. Tomorrow, the Bulls flying high after their strong URC start are looking to break their Cape Town curse. History is on the Stormers side. John Dobson's team, they always find a way to tame Jake White's men at home. Key matchups will include Willie Leroux potentially slotting in at fly half, while Evan Roos and Cameron Hanekom battle it out in the back row. The scrum is set to be a war zone. The turnover kings, Dion Fourie and Marcel Coetzee, looking to steal possession at every ruck. There's 50,000 fans expected at the stands, and this derby could definitely set the tone for the rest of the season. Another match that could set the tone for the rest of the season is the PSL title race between Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates. That match happening tomorrow at Loftus Versfeld. The Brazilians under new coach Miguel Cardoso, they've been unstoppable, winning 6 in a row while scoring 13 goals and conceding just once. Pirates are on a solid run, coming from back-to-back victories against Kaizer Chiefs and Sekhukhune United. With just 6 points between them, Pirates' win could shake up the title race, while a Sundowns victory will solidify their dominance. Kick-off 3:30 in the afternoon. Catch it live on SABC Sport. Tennis action, the defending champion Elena Rybakina edged out Tunisian Ons Jabeur in a deciding tiebreak to reach the semi-finals of the Abu Dhabi Open 6-2, 4-6, 7-6. Carlos Alcaraz easing into the Rotterdam Open quarter-finals. He had a 6-2, 6-1 win over Andrea Vavasori of Italy, and the 6th seed Stefano Tsitsipas, he recovered from the opening set and he went on to beat Talon Griekspoor of the Netherlands. On to golf, Italian Filippo Celli produced a highly composed 6 under par 66 in gusty conditions at the Royal Cape Golf Club to lead the Cape Town Open by a single stroke. His nearest challengers are South Africa's Malcolm Mitchell and Spain's Boya Virtu. More golf. In a statement, PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan says he met with US President Donald Trump at the White House as the tour moves closer to finalizing a long-sought investment deal with the Saudi Arabian backers of rival Live Golf. Monahan said in a statement that he and Scott, one of the players' directors on the PGA Tour board, met with Trump and asked him to get involved in the negotiations. And of course, the statement was signed by Monahan, as well as the players director of the PGA board, Adam Scott, and Tiger Woods, who is the vice chairman of the commercial PGA Tour Enterprises. And finally, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach officiated the one-year countdown to the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games, saying Italy is ready. Private boxes for the opening ceremony at the iconic San Siro Stadium in Milan have already been sold out.
It is therefore my great honor and pleasure to invite the best winter sport athletes of the world to come together in Italy to celebrate the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026 and to celebrate the Olympic motto, faster, higher, stronger, together.
And as we gear up for an action-packed weekend, that's where we leave it for now. John Gericke, it's over to him at around 12:30 with more sport. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. So lots of reflection by various sectors to the State of the Nation address that was delivered by the President last night. And among the voices we've been hearing from is Business Leadership South Africa. What have they said?
That's right, Tula. So Business Leadership South Africa, an organization that represents interests of major local corporates, has given the President's SONA the thumbs up. The association's CEO, Busi Mavuso, expressed optimism about the President's emphasis on finishing what we started, which he believes will foster strong economic growth and reduce unemployment. Mavuso said that the President's commitment to revising regulations for public-private partnerships is encouraging, and it will unlock private sector expertise and funds for infrastructure development. Mavuso also welcomed other key initiatives, including a graduate recruitment scheme to attract well-qualified people to the public service and strengthen whistleblower systems. Additionally, the President's anti-corruption efforts, such as establishing an anti-corruption advisory agency and a digital lab, are seen as positive steps. But BLSA has expressed concerns over the lack of detail on funding for the NHI and the need for more ambitious infrastructure development targets. Despite these concerns, Mavuso believes that Ramaphosa's focus on reform acceleration and anti-corruption efforts will put the country on track for sustained economic growth. She says effective implementation on these initiatives will be crucial in achieving this goal. And we know that's what the government has been struggling with. The business community will be eyeing Finman Enoch Gorongwana's budget being delivered on the 19th of February for further insights on the allocation of funds for some of these initiatives.
So tell me about the temporary reprieve that all of us are getting as far as the ArcelorMittal South Africa shutdown of its long steel unit.
Yeah, so they've delayed the closure of the long steel business by a month to continue talks with the government on a potential rescue plan. Now, the company, which received an interest-free loan of about 380 million rand from the IDC, aims to fulfill outstanding orders and prioritize key customers. This announcement comes alongside AMSA's annual results. The steelmaker's headline loss widened to 5.1 billion rand. This comes as it struggles with its long steel business and as revenue fell 7% to 38.6 billion rand, mainly due to decreased steel sales volumes and lower prices. Now, as we know, the steel industry faces many challenges, including unfair trade practices and subsidized exports from countries like China. AMSA CEO Kobus Verster emphasized the need for government support to protect the industry. The company plans to focus on its flat steel plate production and is exploring options to make its operations more sustainable. Key priorities for the first half of the year include discussions with government, improving operational efficiency, and resizing its fixed cost structure. The group is also considering going cap in hand to shareholders as it mounts a potential recapitalization to address balance sheet issues.
Right, Ndauling, lastly, please give us a sense of what market activity is likely to look like on this Friday.
The local market's likely to start the day mixed, with traders digesting the SONA and keeping an eye out on global developments. Currency markets on track to end the week on a firmer footing thanks to a weaker dollar. It's currently sitting at 18.48 to the greenback. Things, however, could change as we await that all-important U.S. jobs report out later today, and that upcoming print keeping investors cautious in the U.S. as well. Ahead of the print, futures are in the red, and this following yesterday's mixed finish. Lastly, in Asia, markets mixed as well, with traders eyeing U.S. data and digesting Japan's household spending print.
All right, darling, have yourself a great weekend. Don't overspend. And may your sporting team win, unless it's playing against mine.
We'll talk about it on Monday.
That's Darling Lechela there. She's kept you updated on business, the economy and markets over the last 3 hours here on The Morning Brief.
Santam can cover your car in just 2 minutes. That's faster than sticking to your New Year's resolution to eat healthy, then immediately reaching for the leftover pizza in the fridge. and deciding it's a reward for surviving day one. Get your car covered in just 2 minutes so you can live in the moment, not in the worry. Visit santam.co.za. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Pick your 6 lucky numbers and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 31 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Don't miss out. Play Powerball for an estimated 19 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 12 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
18 minutes to 9. Let's turn our attention to this now. The Competition Commission is actively promoting awareness of the energy block exemption regulations designed to exempt certain agreements and practices within the energy and related sectors from certain sections of the Competition Act. These regulations aim to encourage collaboration and joint investment in energy projects, which is especially pertinent to the gas sector in particular. Let's bring in Siyabulela Makunga, who is Competition Commission spokesperson. Good morning to you, Siya, and thank you for your time. Am I correct in reading that, these block exemptions were first introduced in 2023, if I'm not mistaken? Am I correct in reading that there's something you are reading about the extent to which they are understood and taken advantage of by players in energy and related sectors that is prompting you to actually go out now to promote more awareness about them?
Most certainly, Thulasizwe, good morning and thank you very much for having us. Essentially, the Minister being empowered by the Competition Act and having assessed the state of supply of electricity and the much needed interventions in the energy sector. The Minister has then published and gazetted his block exemption with the view to create a more efficient energy market. And of course, Thulasizwe, as the Commission, we are also tasked to ensure that we raise awareness and advocate for a behavioral change in all markets, but also make sure that there is a nationwide awareness, especially in these regulations that are looked at supporting SMMEs and HTPs. So our aim really is to ensure that we engage as much as possible. We provide the much needed clarity to HTPs and SMMEs for them to take advantage of these block exemptions.
But I guess what I'm asking, Sia, is it your reading that there's been a slower than expected take-up of this opportunity for collaboration, even in ways that ordinarily would perhaps be unacceptable within our competition laws regime?
Yes, there's a slow response, and we feel that more engagement will really ensure that there is a nationwide spread of understanding and awareness on these issues. And obviously, it is in the tradition of the Commission through our advocacy programs that we engage industry players and especially those that are in the periphery of the sector.
So tell me a bit then about these exemptions. What are the highlights? What is the main thrust of the exemptions, for someone who is in that space of energy and particularly in the gas sector? What is it that these exemptions allow them to do that would be of advantage that perhaps ordinarily they would not be able to do within our competition laws?
Well, through these exemptions, Thulasizwe, what it means is that outside of the ordinary provisions of the Act, there is a relaxation of Section 4 of the Competition Act, where we looked at prohibited practices. What the Commission is saying, it then allows suppliers of energy to collaborate information with the view of increasing and optimizing the supply of energy in the market, but also see if they can jointly invest and or negotiate prices of the cost of doing business, including buying products and inputs that would obviously help them produce energy at a more cost-effective levels, but also they can share facilities and resources in making sure that they reduce the cost of doing business. But what is not allowed is for companies to fix prices or collude in tendering for gas supply in any area of the sector.
So in line then with trying to raise more awareness of these block exemptions, you will be holding a workshop to raise awareness. Why specifically focusing a lot more on the gas sector?
Well, the gas sector, we having observed the capacity constraints that obviously have been going on for some time, and the price of gas, obviously, which is a detriment to our consumers. We thought it was important to support this area of work because, Thulasizwe, we are aware that there's been successes that have been recorded in reducing the impact of load shedding. We've had almost 200 days of no load shedding, but there remains a responsibility on the part of the state to make sure that the alternative energy resources are capacitated, and we think that this area of work will make a meaningful contribution in really reducing the cost of living.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. That's Siyabulela Makunga, who is the Competition Commission spokesperson.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, the big delays we had around Gauteng have eased up. The N1 out of Soweto towards Ridderport's fine. The N12, Benoni, Boksburg, clear. The N1 at Linwood, that's all cleared up after an earlier crash. And the N1 through Midrand looking fairly easy Friday, if you like. No obstructions and reasonably sort of light to moderate traffic flow. Bit of a hold up on the N1 south towards Winnie Mandela Drive, the four-ways exit. There have been some roadworks there recently. Durban this morning remains wet. A lot of rain overnight, rain this morning. Just take it easy. We've seen a lot of bumps and shunts through this morning's traffic. Bit of a hold up at Cliffdale, potential breakdown there. Just as you come up to Key Ridge, just start to slow down towards that Cliffdale exit through the construction. And Cape Town fairly busy. It's been a busy week. All the events like Sona and the Mining Indaba have all eased, ended and completed. Roads have generally been reopened in that area. But the N1 inbound from N1 City looking slow. The M2 inbound from Langa through to Hospital Bend stays busy. And just an update on the main road between Simonstown and Glencam. The closure is northbound, so leaving Simonstown there's a need to divert, and that's fairly slow, sort of takes you up the side of the mountain. Southbound's open, but there is a backlog getting into that Simonstown area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Action is getting tougher in the second half of the league. The Folks want to ease off pressure with a win, but the Eagles aim to fly with 3 points to remain in the top 5.
This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be.
Catch Borussia Mönchengladbach FC versus Eintracht Frankfurt FC on Saturday, 8 February at 7:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Pick your 6 lucky numbers and play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 31 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Don't miss out. Play Powerball for an estimated 19 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 12 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the morning. Let me engage with you. And here, as I always say, you've heard our story. Let's hear your story. Let me take a few of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes that you've been sending throughout the morning. Let me start with Mpo in Limpopo. Good morning to you, Mpo. You want to reflect on the State of the Nation address?
Morning. Yes, I want to reflect on that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm just feel very, very, very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you check all ministers and deputy ministers there last night. They are wearing very expensive, very nice car, but those people who voting them, they don't care about them. They only come to them only during the election. But after that, they don't care about them. They forget about them. It's like us as a voters, we're helping them to live this life. So it's a call to the ANC. Next national election, we will never vote them again because it's helping them to get a better life. That the better life you're promising to us, you're going to give services, water, and everything. Just remember last night, just say water, what. It's just lying. There is no service going to happen because they are stealing money every project, every day.
Sure. All right. No, thank you for that, Paul. And I suppose, Paul, you part of your criticism is about the red carpet event that happens ahead of the start of the sitting. Is that where part of your problem is that's where there's a display of expensive clothes and cars, as you say?
Yes, because if you see, soldiers are dying because some of them, they don't have food, they don't have water. People here in South Africa, they're not working, they're sleeping without eating. They are every day. Life is very down on them. To get their food, they're struggling. So, but them last night, they're showing us, because we're voting them, we're putting them on a high position, they must use that money to make themselves happy. Wearing expensive clothes, eating nice, making hairstyle, everything. But if I make an example, there is a three portfolio you never see them going to the rural area. Number one, Minister of Small Business, he never come on the rural area. There's a lot of things happening on the spaza shop, illegally and illegally owner also. She never say anything. She never visited them. It's like to vote ANC is to send them to the election. You see, I'm very speechless about them. I'm very disappointed.
Got you, Mpo. Thank you for that. That's Mpo there in Limpopo, reflecting on the red carpet elements and juxtaposing it against the realities of the people that vote for MPs. I don't know, weigh in on that, and perhaps even the government ministers themselves, MPs themselves, are free to weigh in on that and respond how these two sit side by side. Bonagele in Kailicha, you also want to talk about the State of the Nation address, but a particular point that has to do with our former president, Jacob Zuma. Good morning.
A very good morning, absolutely. Why the MKP is lying? They say the courts are the ones who made former President Jacob Zuma not to attend the SON. So why they lying? Because they said he attended the court, but he agreed to go to accepted the invitation to go to the SON. Previously, he didn't attend those SONers. So what difference was it going to make?
You don't believe that he was held up because of the hearing in Pietermaritzburg? But but Bonagele, he has reason to go to the SONA this year. I mean, his party, his brand new party, has done well in the elections.
And by the way, he loses his cases. Even that one of Philip Downer is going to lose that one as well. Same right. That one of prosecuting President privately.
Ramaphosa.
That one.
Yeah.
He's a loser, by the way. That's something that they must.
All right, Bonagele and Kaelicha, they're weighing in on the non-attendance of former President Jacob Zuma at the SONA. Willie in Kuma, good morning to you. You want to respond to the conversation with the Forestry Department. Is it Willie or is it Willie?
It's Willie.
Willie, yes, good morning.
Yeah, look, it's nauseating feeling to listen to such deputy ministers, you see, who would dilly-dally with you instead of giving you the situation the way it is, without protecting the Department of Fire, blah, 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 blah. The fire extinguisher, the vehicles, not only in that department, in the department, in police department, you find the trucks and the vans being broken, being left there to, you see, in many departments of our black government. Let me emphasize black government. Why all of a sudden his management is collapsing like this, Suddenly, after we as blacks have taken the country into our hands.
Sure.
Where are the monitoring systems? You see, from down, up until up the highest structure. Monitoring. Who is monitoring what? Who is reporting to who? That department doesn't do its work. I report to you, and then you come and punish or charge them.
Yeah, Willie, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And
frustrating.
I can hear your frustration. Thank you for that, Willie. The only thing I would say, Willie, is that I hope you're not suggesting that the failures you are talking about, and rightly talking about them, are because it's a quote-unquote black government. There I would have a bit of an issue, but I take nothing from the point you are making. Failure is failure, whether by a black-led government, white-led government, failure is failure. Let's not play into some of the narratives that we see from time to time. Thank you for that, Willie, for that point. Matebe in Middleburg, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about the crime rates in this country?
Yeah, I would tell us good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, man. You know, the rate of crime, the way is so rampant in our country. We need to have a conversation with the traditional healers council, because of when people are stealing, the victims will tend to go to traditional healers to make this medicine that this person who stole must continue to steal. You see, if someone killed my child, I go, then that person must go and kill others. You want to tell us this rate of crime is gonna stop? It don't stop unless we're gonna have an honest conversation with the Council of Traditional Healers. That if the community members, they come to you that someone stole in my house, I don't want to open a case. I want you to make that person just to go and to steal more or to kill more. It's going to increase.
Sure. So this is an interesting take.
That's what is happening in a bad community.
That's an interesting take. So basically it's almost like you're saying this is a spiritual element to the crime rates, that in some instances people don't report the crime but would rather go to a traditional healer and ask for a curse of some sorts to be put on the person to commit more crimes.
Yes, because in a rural black community, you'll hear that, no, you're not going to open a case, because of when you open the case, this person will go out. We are not going to open any case, but we'll take a traditional route.
That is mind-blowing. And really, Namatebe, this other element that I think I've heard about, where people commit crimes and then they go to certain traditional healers for cleansing and for them to not be caught, is that part of what you're talking about as well?
Yes. You remember even Gogo Mawen, Gogo's Koteni, they'll come on live TV saying the Inkavis. They'll come and they after killing someone, they come and cleanse them. They are participating in this.
Sure.
In the crime rate.
Matebe,
you see, that's the problem that I'm having with the Council of the Traditional Healers. Why are they not addressing this? That on as president saying let's fight against crime, but the Traditional Healers Council is quiet when these people are coming on air saying the Inkavis are coming to cleanse themselves. Live on the TV.
I've got to go. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
You've intrigued me this morning. Color me intrigued. That's Matebe there. What a way to end the show. Thank you for listening and thank you for your engagement. The Talking Point is up next here on SAFM after the news.
In our top stories, Ramaphosa warns South Africa will not be bullied, and sharing of videos showing school learners fighting condemned. Good morning. South Africa as a developing country will not be bullied, according to President Cyril Ramaphosa in his first State of the Nation address under a government of national unity last night. This is in response to utterances by US President Donald Trump, who indicated future aid funding would be cut to the country in response to the Expropriation Act signed into law last month. Ramaphosa says global fundamental shifts are affecting aspects of human life.
There are global fundamental shifts underway that affect every aspect of human life, from the growing impact of climate change to rapid advances in artificial intelligence, geopolitical tensions,